My old man spent 2.5 years on his deathbed telling me the same stories on repeat, like a broken record. How he was sent to the countryside in the 70s. How some actress who later played a famous queen on TV nearly got assaulted, and he saved her. How there were these gorgeous twins who were so hungry, he could have won them over with a corn muffin. And how he totally blew every single opportunity life threw at him. Real inspiring stuff, Dad. Thanks. Then he died. And honestly, after 2 years of being his full-time nurse, losing my job, and my wife, I blacked out right there on the hospital floor like my brain just hit the power button. Next thing I know, I'm staring at my own reflection in a creek, looking about 20 years old, and some robot voice in my head is handing me a starter pack like this is a video game. Congratulations, you've been reborn in 1975. Here's a magic farm. 1 acre. Upgradable. Cool, cool, cool. Before I can even process the fact that I'm literally living inside my dad's bedtime stories, I hear creepy laughter coming from the woods. 2 absolute scumbags have cornered a girl against a tree, and wouldn't you know it, it's the girl, the future TV queen herself. My dad's greatest. What if, Dad, you beautiful rambling old fool. You were telling the truth the whole time. My brain immediately switched to 1 gear. Everything you fumbled, I'm catching. I grabbed a hoe, the farming tool, relax, and charged in screaming about catching criminals. The 2 creeps bolted like cockroaches when the lights come on. Then, because they shared exactly 1 brain cell between them, they stopped running when they realized I was alone and tried to bribe me into joining their little crime spree. $100 and shared access. These guys watched too many villain movies. I played dumb, walked right up to them with my best, wow really, face, and introduced their skulls to my hoe. Bonk, bonk. Good night, gentlemen. Then I stuffed their unconscious bodies into my magic farm dimension like dirty laundry into a hamper. Problem solved. Evidence deleted. Farming system, already earning its keep. Found the girl later, half frozen in a rock crevice deep in the forest, shaking like a wet chihuahua. Carried her to a cave, built a fire, and played the world's most heroic space heater. One thing led to another. Look, she was cold, I was warm, the firelight was romantic, and I figured if I didn't make a move at that point, I'd be repeating my dad's mistakes all over again. The man literally died regretting his hesitation. I refused to carry that genetic curse. Midnight rolled around, and my system pinged me again with some kind of daily lottery feature. And because the universe apparently felt generous about my first day as a time-traveling farmer warrior romantic, it handed me a legendary tier intel drop right off the bat. Not bad for day 1. Woke up to my system pinging me like an annoying alarm clock, except instead of ruining my morning, it handed me a legendary intel drop on my very first pull. Beginner's luck is real, folks. Turns out one of those 2 scumbags I knocked out had a secret stash house full of supplies in the county. 3 months to grab it. Christmas came early in 1975. But first, business. I popped into my magic farm dimension to check on my 2 guests. The system looked at their unconscious bodies and said, and I quote, unprocessed organic matter detected. Convert, organic matter. My system has 0 chill and absolutely no respect for human dignity. I love it already. 1 click of, yes, and poof, 2 terrible human beings became premium fertilizer. My farm expanded by 2 acres. I got physically stronger. And here's the kicker. I absorbed their skills. One of those idiots had parents who studied in Russia, so now I speak intermediate Russian with a perfect Moscow accent. The other one's dad was a military general who taught him to shoot. Except the kid was so obsessed with chasing women, he barely learned the basics. Still, free shooting skill is free shooting skill. These 2 clowns were more useful as compost than they ever were as people. Then my brain started doing math. Dangerous, I know. If 2 random losers gave me this much of a power boost, imagine what happens if I recycle more people. My system basically wants me to become history's most aggressive humanitarian. Save people. Into my farming dimension. Permanently. The ultimate recycling program. My mind immediately jumped to geopolitics. It's 1975. The Soviets have 1 million troops parked on the border up north. Everyone's paranoid. And there are actual Russian soldiers crossing over to start trouble sometimes. That's a buffet right there. And if that doesn't work out, there's always 1979 when the big Southern War kicks off. Battlefield recycling, efficiency at its finest. But that's future planning. Right now, I look down at the sleeping beauty in my arms, future TV queen, current damsel I just rescued, and realized my stat boost made me feel refreshed, energized, ready for round two. Time is money, as they say. Skipping ahead past the fun parts, noon rolled around, sunlight hit the cave, and let me tell you, this woman at 22 was something else entirely. She had this natural elegance that money can't buy. When she caught me staring, she pouted and said I looked like I wanted to eat her. Guilty as charged, Your Majesty. Now here's where I had to activate big brain mode. She asked about those two guys, and I had my cover story locked and loaded. They ran away because they knew they were caught. Simple, clean, beautiful. The only witnesses were me and her, so as long as our stories matched, nobody would ever know those two became premium topsoil. The tricky part was protecting her reputation. In this era, if word got out that two men even tried something, the gossip alone would destroy her life. I told her to say she got lost picking mushrooms and ran into me confessing my feelings. I'd take all the embarrassment. She was so moved she kissed me on the cheek. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, embarrassment? Please. I just turned two criminals into farm upgrades. Taking a little social heat is nothing. We walked back to camp holding hands like a couple returning from a picnic instead of, a cave where I composted two people. The female workers swarmed her with questions. She stuck to the script perfectly. Good girl. Then I went to handle the last loose end. A scrawny little weasel named Li Weidong, sitting on his bed stuffing chocolate into his face. Chocolate that those two scumbags gave him as payment for luring the girl into the woods. This guy was their accomplice, their bait man, and most importantly, the only living person who knew what actually happened. I sat him down and gave him two options: turn yourself in, or run home and never come back. Played the good guy angle. Told him I could have brought the authorities but came alone instead because I'm such a nice person. He hemmed and hawed until I reminded him his buddies already fled. That lit a fire under him real quick. He packed his stuff in about 30 seconds flat, said a rushed goodbye to the girls, and bolted down the road like his pants were on fire. I watched him disappear down the path. Then I casually picked up my hoe and followed him at a nice, leisurely pace. 3 or 4 miles out, deep in the old forest where nobody could see us, I called out nice and friendly. Hey, Weidong, slow down. You forgot something. He stopped and turned around, confused. Forgot what? Yeah? He forgot that loose ends don't get to walk away in MY story. Hey, buddy, you forgot something, I yelled after Li Weidong with my warmest, friendliest voice. He actually stopped, turned around, got all teary-eyed looking at me jogging up with my trusty hoe. This fool genuinely thought I chased him 3 miles through the cold to return his stuff. What a sweetheart. What a moron. He started digging through his bag. I can't figure out what I forgot. Oh, that's easy, I said, raising my hoe nice and high. You forgot your skull. Bonk. Nice sound. Good acoustics out here in the forest. 10 out of 10. My system immediately popped up asking if I wanted to decompose organic matter. At this point, I'm basically running a composting business. Hit yes, farm expanded another acre, got a physical boost, and, surprise, this little bookworm actually had some education rattling around in that head of his. Absorbed his Chinese literature skills on the spot. Turns out the weasel read a lot of books. Too bad he used that brain for luring girls into traps instead of, I don't know, not being garbage. Grabbed his stuff, $30, some grain tickets, and a pile of books. Not exactly a fortune, but hey, free is free. 2 days into my new life, and I've already saved 3 people. My conscience? Spotless. Crystal clean. These guys helped set up an assault. My hoe was simply delivering karma at high velocity. Now here's the beautiful part. Back at the workers' camp, it was originally 4 guys and 10 girls. Guess how many guys are left? 1. Me. Just me and 10 attractive young women. Turns out the whole setup was rigged from the start. Some big shot official was funneling pretty girls to this remote camp as entertainment for his buddy's son. They threw me and Li Weidong in as harmless filler. Quiet guys who won't cause trouble. Plot twist, Uncle Official. Plot twist. I knew trouble would eventually come knocking when the families realized their precious boys disappeared. But honestly, bring it. My recycling program has openings. More urgent problem though, winter was coming. Not in the cool Dragon Swords way. In the "you will literally freeze to death eating corn husks" way. October snow, months of being stuck indoors, and my girl needed warm supplies too. My girl. Still feels weird saying that about a future TV legend. But here we are. Then I remembered. The system told me that morning about Wang Wenhua's secret hideout in town. A stash house full of goodies. Time to collect my inheritance from the dearly departed. Borrowed a bike from the camp boss, pedaled my butt off to the county, and found the place tucked in an alley so empty even stray dogs didn't bother visiting. Military family paranoia at its finest. Dad clearly coached the kid on how to pick a safe house. I fished a key out of the third brick crack exactly where Wang Wenhua's stolen memories told me it would be. Opened the door, and my jaw nearly hit the floor. 2 brand new cotton quilts. Fur-lined military boots. 10+ bottles of premium liquor. 4 cartons of cigarettes. Imported butter cookies. Stacks of chocolate. Canned milk powder. A military bayonet. And an actual camera. A legit Seagull brand twin lens that cost more than a worker's entire yearly salary. This kid was living like a prince in the middle of nowhere while everyone else was starving on cornmeal porridge. His parents sent him to the countryside for hardship and then basically airdropped a luxury care package. The only thing missing was a butler. But the real prize was taped under the bed. A fat envelope with 800 yuan and 120 pounds worth of national grain tickets. $800 in 1975. That's nearly 2 years of a normal worker's salary. This brat showed up with 1,500 and burned through 706 months buying booze and snacks. Financial responsibility was clearly not in the family curriculum. Wang Wenhua, my friend, I whispered, stuffing everything into my magic inventory. Your parents' money is in better hands now. My hands kept the apartment too. Nobody alive knows this place exists. Not his parents, not his uncle, nobody. Free real estate. Now came the smart part. I did not go on a shopping spree in the local town. That would be like putting up a neon sign saying, "Recently robbed, a missing person." Instead, I rode my bike to a completely different town, one with a train station full of strangers coming and going. Nobody remembers faces in a crowd. Bought 50 pounds of corn flour, 20 pounds of white flour, 10 pounds of rice, plus salt and soy sauce. Total cost, less than $10. That's 2 bottles of wine in Wang Wenhua math, but in MY math, that's 2 months of food. Also grabbed some seeds for my magic farm, plus red sugar and canned peaches for my queen. A man provides. The shop lady gave me a look on my second trip in, so I immediately stopped buying. Can't have people remembering the young guy who shops like he just robbed a bank. Packed everything into my invisible inventory, feeling pretty proud of my operational security, ready to bike home before dark. Then someone behind me said my name. Linimo, is that you? My blood went cold. Being recognized when you're supposed to be a broke farmer carrying invisible groceries is not ideal. Stepped out of the supply store feeling like a secret agent who just pulled off the perfect grocery heist. And then, Linimo, is that you? My heart dropped to my kneecaps. I turned around slow, keeping my face totally calm while my brain screamed, "Act normal, ACT normal, ACT normal." Turns out it was just some girl named Li Ping. Apparently, we came to the countryside in the same batch of workers. Did I remember her? Absolutely not. Did I pretend to? Like a champion. Oh wow, Li Ping. You got so pretty I almost didn't recognize you. Lies. Complete fabricated nonsense. But it worked perfectly. She turned red as a tomato and started giggling. Then she told me she works at this supply store. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Hold on. A contact inside a supply store? In 1975, that's basically having a friend who works at the Federal Reserve. I filed that information away in my brain under extremely useful people and promised to visit. She blushed even harder. Networking, baby. It's all about networking. Biking home, I spotted an old farmer squatting by the road selling 2 skinned rabbits and a cage of baby chicks that nobody wanted because winter was coming and chicks die in the cold. Bought the whole lot for pocket change. Then my system did something that completely blew my mind. It offered to decompose the rabbits. Animals count too? Animals count too. 2 rabbits gave me 0.02 agility points. Pathetic number, sure. But my brain immediately started doing the math. Northeast China is basically a giant zoo. Rabbits, wild boars, black bears, tigers. If 2 tiny bunnies give me 0.02, imagine what a 1,000-pound bear would do. My stats would go through the roof. One small problem, though. Can't exactly wrestle a Siberian tiger with my bare hands and a farming hoe. I needed a gun. The military warehouse at camp had rifles, grenades, even anti-aircraft guns locked up tight. But getting one of those was like trying to borrow the nuclear football, not happening casually. Back in the day, you could technically buy a hunting rifle from the supply store, but you needed official paperwork from your camp boss. Briefly considered asking Li Ping at the store. Then imagine the conversation. Hey girl, I haven't seen in months. Nice to reconnect. Can you sell me a firearm? Yeah, no. That's serial killer energy. Plan B, bribe the camp boss. Now, my inventory was stuffed with premium liquor and fancy cigarettes from Wang Wenhua's stash. But pulling out a bottle of top-shelf spirits in front of a village official would be like a McDonald's worker showing up to work in a Lamborghini. Suspicion City. Instead, I bought the cheapest bulk wine and rough tobacco I could find. For a local boss, that's plenty. Walked into Old Son's house. He's the camp secretary, been running this place for over a decade. Dropped the goods on his table and got straight to business. Boss son, our workers' camp is 2 miles from the village and right next to the deep forest. When winter hits and a hungry bear comes knocking on our door, am I supposed to fight it with good vibes? He eyeballed my bribe, eyeballed me, and said he'd lend me a shotgun till spring. Bullets were on me, though. I asked for 100 rounds. His eyes nearly popped out of his skull. You going to war, kid? I'll give you 40. Bring back the shells. They're reloadable. Stingy old fox wanted me to come back for more ammo, so I'd bring more gifts. I respected the hustle. He handed me a beat-up double-barrel shotgun with a trigger so Warnick could go off if you sneezed near it. I convinced him to swap it for a newer one, and we walked to the weapons warehouse together. That's when I saw them. Row after row of Type 56 semi-automatic rifles hanging on the wall. Military grade. 10-round magazines. Accurate. Powerful. Beautiful. I wanted one so bad. Casually mentioned it. Got shut down instantly. A worker running around the mountains with a military rifle? People will think the Russians invaded. Fair point. Old Sunday fair point. I did make a mental note, though. Every winter they do militia training. Lots of people handling lots of guns. Perfect chaos for a 5-finger discount. My shotgun would do for now, but come winter, one of those rifles was definitely going home with Daddy. Walked back to the men's cabin with my new gun, feeling pretty good about life. Then I opened the door to complete silence in an empty room. Oh, right. I played werewolf so aggressively over the past 2 days that I eliminated all 3 other male players. The village has no wolves left. Just me, the lone survivor. Standing in an empty cabin with no roommates, no dinner cooked, and nothing but cold walls for company. Kinda wish I hadn't composted those rabbits now. Could have at least grilled one. Grabbed a bag of corn flour, picked up my dignity, and headed toward the women's cabin. 10 young women over there, and they definitely had a fire going. Time to go introduce myself as their one and only male neighbor. You know, just being friendly. Just bringing some flour to share. Just casually checking out exactly what kind of situation destiny dropped me into. Knocked on the girl's cabin door holding a bag of corn flour like it was a bouquet of roses. The door swung open and a wall of warmth, noise, and giggling hit me in the face. 10 women in one room. It wasn't a living space. It was a hen house with opinions. Ladies, your boy hasn't eaten dinner and is on the verge of death. Please, in the name of revolutionary friendship, feed me. One girl with a ponytail immediately started quoting political slogans about comrades helping each other. Another group said friendship is great, but cornflour is better. Within 30 seconds, 3 of them had already snatched my bag and started making pancakes. Mission accomplished. Easiest dinner I ever earned. Meanwhile, my eyes drifted to the corner where my queen was sitting, quietly sewing a shoe sole like she was trying to become invisible. Everyone else was chatting with me, laughing, joking around, but she couldn't even lift her head. Her ears were practically glowing red. Real subtle, babe. Nothing says, nothing happened between us, like acting like a tomato who just got caught stealing. Naturally, I sat down right next to her, and because I have the survival instincts of a man who already died once and doesn't care anymore, I reached over, grabbed her little foot, and pulled it into my lap. In front of everyone. She tried to yank it back. Adorable effort. 0 success. I threw my jacket over our hands like a magician's cloth and went to work while casually chatting with the other girls about absolutely nothing. Multitasking at its finest. Her eyes were begging me to stop. Eventually, I showed mercy. I'm generous like that. Then Ponytail Girl brought up Li Weidong's dramatic exit that afternoon. What was that about? He just ran in, said goodbye, and bolted. I put on my most confused face. Yeah, weird, right? Wang Wenhua and his buddy disappeared too. Maybe they couldn't handle the cold? Who knows? Shrugged like I genuinely had no clue why 3 healthy young men vanished into thin air on the same day. Academy Award performance right there. The girls were baffled. Wang Wenhua running made sense. Rich kid, rich parents, could land on his feet anywhere. But Li Weidong? Regular working class family. Running home meant losing his official residency status. Becoming basically a ghost citizen. Little did they know he was already a ghost, specifically, the kind that got recycled into premium farmland fertilizer. Then a girl named Su Wan connected the dots. Wait, if all 3 guys left, Lin Mo, you're the only man here now? Ding ding ding. Give this woman a prize. I set my brand new shotgun on the table with a casual thunk. Yep, just me. Which is why I got this beauty today. Our camp is 2 miles from the nearest village, right against the deep forest. When winter hits, hungry bears come looking for food. They can learn to knock on doors. And they eat people alive, starting while you're still watching. 10 pretty faces went white simultaneously. It was like watching dominoes fall, except the dominoes were screaming. Lin Mo, you have to protect us. You're our only man. You have to step up, step up, step up, where exactly? I looked around the room at 10 terrified, beautiful women all staring at me like I was their personal bodyguard, firefighter, and knight in shining. Armor combined. Don't worry, I grinned. As long as I'm here, none of you are getting away. I mean, none of you will get hurt. Smooth recovery. Nailed it. Back in my empty cabin, I locked the door and teleported into my magic farm. Blue skies, warm sunshine, fresh air, basically Hawaii without the tourists. Time to play farmer. Divided my 3 acres with military precision. Half for corn and potatoes, boring but reliable, the kind of crops that keep you alive when everything else fails. The rest got split into tiny plots: carrots, onions, cucumbers, tomatoes, watermelon, sunflowers, spinach, and some leafy greens. Here's my logic. Northeast winter lasts from October to April. 6 months of nothing but cabbage, green onions, and potatoes. The legendary Big 3 of winter survival food. My dad ate those for so many years during his countryside days that he refused to touch any of them for the rest of his life. The man would rather starve than look at another cabbage. Trauma runs deep. My plan: eat fresh cucumbers in January. Chill watermelons in the snow and eat them on a heated bed. Live like a king while everyone else is choking down their 500th bowl of cabbage soup. Scattered the seeds, waved my hand, and summoned a tiny rain cloud over my field like a budget Zeus. Watering complete. Then I dealt with the chicken situation. Those little monsters would dig up every seed I just planted if I let them roam free. Luckily, the system offered an auto-feeding feature. Tossed in 20 pounds of corn flour, the chicks started eating, and the system would handle recycling crop waste into feed. Basically invented sustainable farming 4 decades early. Call me the eco-warrior. Cranked the time speed to 3x, popped back into reality, and stared at my big, empty room. 2 whole heated sleeping platforms. Just for me. 1 man. Alone. Over at the girls' place, 10 people were sardine-packed onto 2 beds, practically having to coordinate breathing. Over here, I could do snow angels on my bed and not touch an edge. This was unacceptable. I needed to fast-track Operation Get My Queen to move in. Next morning, I slept in like a boss. The rooster crowed, the sun climbed high, and I didn't move until I felt like it. Thanks to Wang Wenhua's entitled lifestyle, the camp had a deal where workers could choose whether to show up. No work meant no food rations, but with $800 of inherited cash in my pocket, I could afford to be lazy for a long time. Pulled up my daily intel system feeling lucky. System, give me today's report. Got a green tier special intel drop. Which sounds cool, except yesterday I got legendary on my first pull. Going from orange to green felt like ordering lobster and getting fish sticks. Seriously? Pulled up my daily intel expecting another legendary drop. Got green tier instead. Went from lobster to fish sticks overnight. But then I actually read what it said. A herd of spotted deer would be passing through the forest 3 kilometers northwest of camp at noon today. 3-hour window. I launched off that bed like a human cannonball. grabbed my shotgun, threw on a jacket, and sprinted out the door. Sleep? Breakfast? Never heard of them. There are deer out there with my name on them. Gotta say though, autumn in northeast China hits different. Golden birch trees everywhere, blue sky so crisp it looks photoshopped, air so clean my lungs felt like they just got a factory reset. Even stopped to snap some photos with Wong Wenhua's fancy camera. That dead rich boy's gear keeps on giving. Found the spot my system marked, parked myself downwind behind a tree, laid the shotgun across my legs, and waited. This is what hunters call ambush style, basically sitting on your but doing nothing until dinner walks up to you. The other method involves tracking dogs chasing animals for hours, which sounds exhausting and also requires owning dogs. But sitting it is. Noon arrived, rustling in the bushes. My heart started pounding. They came out one by one. 11 spotted deer total, 2 big males, 5 females, for babies. A whole deer family reunion strolling into my kill zone like they booked a picnic on my shooting range. Lined up the biggest male in my sights. Deep breath. Bang bang. Both barrels. 2 males dropped like someone unplugged them. The rest of the herd absolutely lost IT. 11 deer trying to run in 11 different directions at once. I cracked open the gun, jammed 2 fresh rounds in, and caught the slowest female with my second shot. Clipped her back. She stumbled but kept running into the trees. First shot missed completely though. Wong Wenhua's beginner shooting skill was showing its limitations real hard. Swept the 2 dead males into my inventory. Poof, gone. Then followed the blood trail 3 miles deep into the forest. Found the mother deer dead under some pine trees. Score. But then I noticed something curled up next to her. A tiny baby deer, maybe 2 months old, pressing itself flat against the ground playing dead. Nature's version of, if I don't move, maybe the murder man won't see me. Bad strategy, little buddy. I can definitely see you. Tried to shove it into my inventory, but the system hit me with a new rule. Only dead, unconscious, or completely helpless creatures can enter the space. This fawn was small, but still had enough fight to kick and squirm. So I gently covered its nose and mouth for a couple minutes until it passed out. Not my proudest moment, but efficiency waits for no one. Now for the good part. Decomposed both male deer and got a full point of agility plus. And this is where it gets amazing. A special limited buff called Yang Gang Constitution. Duration, 14 days. The system literally quoted ancient Chinese medicine at me. Something about deer blood being nature's ultimate male enhancement supplement. A wave of warmth exploded from my core and rushed through every limb. My lower back felt like someone installed a nuclear reactor in my kidneys. My whole body was humming with energy. Everything felt upgraded, especially the parts that matter for recreational activities. 14 days of this. My poor queen doesn't know what's coming. Actually, I take that back. She's definitely going to know what's coming. Repeatedly. Kept the mother deer intact for eating instead of decomposing her. The system offered an auto-butchering feature because apparently my magic farm dimension is also a professional meat processing plant. One flash of light later, 240 milliliters of deer blood floating in midair like a creepy red water balloon, 95 pounds of venison neatly cut, 30 pounds of organ meat, and 1 slightly damaged deer hide. First time butchering job, so some waste. The system told me to keep practicing. Will do, coach. Will absolutely do. The baby deer woke up, wobbled around, and nuzzled my hand looking for milk. Did I feel guilty about killing its parents? Let me think. No, not even a little. I need to eat, I need stats, and deer exist for both purposes. This fawn had no meat worth harvesting anyway, so I'd keep it as a pet. Every farmer needs a mascot. Spent the next half hour cutting grass on the hillside to feed my growing zoo. Bent over swinging a sickle for 30 straight minutes, and my back felt nothing. No pain, no stiffness, not even a twinge. The Yang Gang buff wasn't just for bedroom performance. It gave me a titanium spine. Deer blood, the ancient world's pre-workout and post-workout supplement combined. Made a mental note to eventually hunt a Siberian tiger. If 2 deer gave me upgraded kidneys and a 14-day stamina buff, a tiger would probably make me immortal. But first I needed way better aim. Can't fight a tiger with beginner-level shooting and hope for the best. That's not hunting. That's door-dashing yourself to a predator. Headed back to camp feeling like an absolute champion. Full meat locker, new pet deer, superhuman back strength, and 14 days of enhanced everything. Then I reached my cabin door and froze. It was slightly open. Sounds coming from inside. Shuffling. Someone moving around. Every muscle in my body went tight. Nobody should be in there. I live alone now. I made very sure of that. Who the hell was in my house? Crept up to my own cabin like a SWAT team approaching a hostage situation. Loaded 2 heavy slugs into my shotgun. Pressed my ear against the wall. Something was definitely moving around in there, rustling and bumping into stuff. My first thought, bear. A hungry black bear raiding my kitchen. It happened last year to someone else. Beast broke in, licked an entire barrel of corn flour clean like a dog with a peanut butter jar. Took a deep breath, kicked up my courage, and slid through the door with my gun raised like an action movie hero. And there, bent over the bed, scrubbing the sleeping platform with her back to me, was my queen, but in the air, complaining to nobody about how filthy men are. This place is disgusting. How many layers of hair grease are on these sheets? Do these men ever wash anything? Nearly shot the love of my life over housekeeping. That would have been an awkward funeral. She hadn't even noticed me yet. This woman was so committed to cleaning my room that a man with a loaded shotgun could sneak up behind her. I set the gun down, tiptoed over, and wrapped my arms around her from behind. She screamed like she'd actually seen a bear. "Are you a cat? How do you walk without making any noise?" Before she could finish yelling, I grabbed her face and kissed her. She stumbled back, stuttering something about it being daytime and how she needed to go cook dinner. Dinner? Please. I scooped her up, tossed her onto the freshly cleaned bed, and informed her I had something much more nutritious planned. Remember that Dear Blood Yongang buff? 14 days of enhanced everything. Well, today was day 1, and let me tell you, those 2 deer died for a noble cause. My system basically turned me into a machine, an unstoppable, deer blood-powered machine. About an hour later, my queen was staring at the ceiling with the expression of someone who'd just survived a natural disaster. Hair plastered to her face, eyes unfocused, soul temporarily out of service. I was already strategizing my next move. You should move in with me. Over there you've got 10 girls packed on 2 beds. 1 person farts and 5 people suffer. Here, whole bed to ourselves. Her stomach answered before she could. The loudest, most embarrassing growl I've ever heard came rumbling out from under the blanket. She tried to bury her face in the pillow and disappear from existence. Turns out she barely ate lunch. The girls split a tiny portion of rough grain between 10 people. Not enough calories to replace what they burn working all day. Some of them hadn't even had their monthly cycles in months from malnutrition. And that's when the full picture clicked. Wang Wenhua's plan was evil genius level. He deliberately kept the girls underfed. Wait for winter. Snow blocks the roads. Girls get desperate. Then he strolls in with food and suddenly becomes their best friend, for a price. Starvation as a weapon. Absolutely diabolical. Well, Wang Wenhua's dead now. So I guess the taking care of 10 hungry women job falls to me. Tragic. Truly tragic responsibility. Don't know how I'll manage. Close your eyes. Open your mouth. She trusted me enough to actually do it. Popped a chocolate in there. Her eyes flew open like I'd just handed her a diamond. Chocolate? Where did you get chocolate? Don't ask questions. Just eat. Gave her a bag of brown sugar too. Told her to mix it with hot water whenever she feels dizzy. And specifically told her not to ration it. I'd buy more. My woman doesn't go hungry. Period. Then I casually pulled a rack of fresh deer ribs out of my invisible inventory while she wasn't looking, threw it in the iron pot with water, and started a fire. Within minutes, the entire cabin smelled like a 5-star restaurant. Her eyes went wide from the bed. Where did you get meat? Shot a deer this morning. Lucky day? Anyway, this needs about an hour to cook, and we've got nothing else to do, so... Her face went from hungry to horrified in about half a second. Again? Already, yes. Again. The deer blood demanded it. By the time she left my cabin, it was pitch dark and she was using the wall for support, walking like a newborn deer herself. Ironic, considering what powered my performance. She checked herself over 3 times before going back inside the girl's cabin and immediately claimed she wasn't feeling well and collapsed on the communal bed. Meanwhile, over at her cabin, the other girls were eating dinner, a watery soup with 3 lonely vegetable leaves floating in it and a sprinkle of corn bits. That's it. That's dinner. When someone offered her a bowl, she waved it off. Of course she did. She'd just eaten 2 pounds of venison and been thoroughly exercised. Both mouths fed, as they say. Most of the girls didn't think twice about her skipping dinner. More soup for them. Simple math. But one girl noticed. Sue Wan, the quiet one from a wealthy southern family. According to my dad's drunken ramblings, she was short, pale, pretty-faced, and a habitual snitch who loved reporting people to authorities. My dad's one-star review of her was not encouraging. Suwon had apparently watched my queen sneak over to my cabin that afternoon and not come back for 3 hours, then watched her refuse dinner. Connected the dots real fast. Around midnight, I was lying on my bed reading Lee Weidong's leftover books, getting my money's worth from the man even after composting him, when someone knocked. My heart jumped. Was it my queen sneaking back for round? Whatever number we were on. It's Sue Wan. Open the door. Oh no. The snitch. I stayed behind the door. It's late, Sue Wan. Can this wait until tomorrow? No. Open up. It's urgent. Against my better judgment, I unlatched the door. She squeezed through the crack like a spy on a mission, immediately started scanning my room like a detective at a crime scene, and made a beeline for my cooking pot. Lifted the lid. Saw the leftover deer meat. Her eyes went huge. She spun around, staring straight through my soul. I knew it. That's why Zhu Lin skipped dinner tonight. She was over here eating your food. She circled me like a prosecutor cornering a witness. Tell me the truth. Are you and Zhu Lin together? Great. Day 3 of my new life, and I'm already being interrogated by the neighborhood gossip. This is fine. Everything is fine. Tell me the truth. Are you and Zhu Lin together? Suwon stood there like a tiny prosecutor demanding a confession. I squinted at her. My dad barely mentioned this woman. Just one drunken comment about a short girl from southern China whose family ran hospitals, had a pretty face but a rotten personality, and loved snitching on people to authorities. Real 5-star character reference there, Dad. I hit her with my best defense. Suwon, comrade. What Zhu Lin and I share is pure revolutionary friendship. Please don't spread baseless rumors. She wasn't buying it for 1 second. Waved her hand like she was swatting away my nonsense. Cut the garbage. Here's the deal. Give me some meat too, and I'll keep your secret. Oh, so we're doing blackmail now? You walk into MY cabin at midnight, discover MY food, and try to extort me? You think I'm some pushover you can squeeze? I grabbed her arm, picked her up. She weighed about 80 pounds soaking wet, literally lighter than the deer I shot this morning, and tossed her out the front door like a bag of laundry. Here's my logic. My queen earned that meal. She put in work. Hours of work. Went home walking like she'd just finished a marathon on horseback. And this girl thinks she can just waltz in, flap her lips, and get the same treatment for free? The audacity. The sheer disrespect to the hustle. I was about to slam the door when she lunged forward, grabbed my sleeve with both hands, and completely fell apart. Please, Linimo, just let me eat one real meal. I'll do anything. Anything. If I don't get some nutrition soon, my body is going to be permanently damaged. And then she started crying. Hard. Here's the thing. She wasn't lying. The girl came from a wealthy medical family, so she actually understood what was happening to her body. Months of nothing but wild vegetable soup had shut down her monthly cycle. Her medical knowledge told her exactly what that meant. Keep starving, and the damage might become permanent. In this era, a woman who can't have children might never find a husband. Her entire future was literally wasting away one missed meal at a time. She pressed herself against me, clinging on like I was a life raft. I could feel how light she was, like holding a paper cutout of a person. If winter hit, and she caught anything serious, she'd be done. I sighed. What am I supposed to do here? The universe keeps throwing women at me in desperate situations, and I keep catching them. At this point, it's basically my job description. Carried her to the stove, fished out a big bowl of leftover deer meat, set it on the counter, and handed her chopsticks. She grabbed them and was about to inhale the whole bowl when she felt my hands settle on her waist from behind. What are you doing? I smiled. What do you mean? You eat yours, I'll eat mine. Look, she came to MY house at midnight, said she'd do anything. A man can only be so noble before it becomes medically irresponsible. She closed her eyes, made her peace with the universe, lowered her head, and started absolutely demolishing that bowl of venison. Meanwhile, I was already well fed from my earlier session with Zhu Lin, so I could take my sweet time and savor the experience at a leisurely pace. But, and this is important, my dad specifically warned me this girl was a professional snitch. What if she eats my food, enjoys the evening, and then runs to the authorities claiming I attacked her. I'd be finished. Insurance policy time. While she was preoccupied, I quietly pulled out Wang Wenhua's Seagull camera and snapped a couple of very incriminating photos from the side. Click, click. Evidence secured. Listen, I'm not a bad person, but I'm also not stupid. If this girl ever tries to backstab me, I've got receipts. Literal photographic receipts. Now I had a new problem. This camera uses old-fashioned film that needs chemicals and a darkroom to develop. And I absolutely cannot take these photos to a regular Photoshop. The technician would take one look at the negatives and call the police before the prints even dried. Sir, this isn't a photo development order. This is Exhibit A. Next morning, I biked back to the supply store town to find Li Ping. She was leaning on the counter, yawning, doing absolutely nothing while her co-workers actually worked. Must be nice having family connections. Li Ping, I need a favor. Know anyone at a Photoshop? Why? What for? Had my cover story ready. Winter's coming. Might get sent to guard the mountain forest for months. Want to learn to develop my own photos up there. You know, for memories. She immediately perked up and walked me to the shop next door. The photographer, old Zhao, greeted her like she was royalty, because supply store workers in this era are basically the mafia of retail. They decide whether your meat purchase is fatty and delicious or lean and depressing. Nobody messes with a supply store clerk. Old Zhao wasn't eager to teach me though. Trade secrets and all that. Why teach someone to do what you get paid for? I reached into my coat and pulled out a 20-pound deer leg wrapped in oil paper. His eyes went wider than dinner plates. His smile stretched so far I thought his face might split. Well now? That's very generous of you, young man. Come on back. Let me show you everything. Half an hour in his darkroom, and I had the whole process down. He even loaded me up with developing chemicals, photo paper, and supplies. Bought a few rolls of fresh film too. My photo studio was officially in business. Walking out, Li Ping turned to me with pink cheeks. So, you have a camera? Could you maybe take me out to shoot some photos sometime? Oh, sweet innocent Li Ping. If you only knew what kind of photos this camera has been taking. I'd love to photograph you. The real question is, would you be brave enough to pose? I smiled and said nothing. 3 days into my new life, and I've got a magic farm, a shotgun, a camera full of blackmail material, a supply store insider, a photo developing side hustle, a pet deer, $800 in stolen cash, and 2 women who've seen the inside of my cabin after dark. Dad, wherever you are, I hope you're watching. Your fumbling era is over. The Lin family redemption arc is just getting started. Gave Li Ping a whole deer leg as a thank you for introducing me to the photo guy. She tried refusing it, doing that classic Chinese politeness dance where you push a gift back and forth until someone loses grip. 2 older store ladies finally yelled at her to just take it before they ripped the leg in half. She caved, blushed like a sunset, and shoved 2 bottles of local sweet grape wine into my arms as payback. Networking score, connections at the supply store, the photo shop, and free wine. If this were a video game, my social skill tree would be maxed. Biked home, locked my door, and dove into my farm dimension to develop those photos of Su Wan. Followed old Zhao's instructions, mixed the chemicals, and waited for the images to appear on the paper like magic. And when they did, good Lord, this woman would have been classified as a demon in ancient times. Even though I only caught her from the side, the bone structure, the expression, those eyes, pure southern Chinese siren energy. Seductive and innocent at the same time, which honestly shouldn't even be legal. Only downside, she's barely 5'2", basically a hobbit. But you know what? Compact packaging has its advantages. Easier to carry. Very convenient for logistics. My philosophy in life is simple. Don't miss the good ones. Don't waste the bad ones. Catch them all. Tuck the photos safely into my system vault. Insurance policy activated. If little Miss Snitch ever tries to report me, I pull out Exhibit A through D and watch her change her mind real fast. Then I checked my inventory and realized I'd burned through 1/3 of my deer meat in 2 days. 2 legs went to bribes. 1 rack of ribs became dinner and entertainment expenses. At this rate, my entire deer would be gone by next week. Learning skills in 1975 is expensive. Everything costs meat. Made a mental note. Need to photograph more private art with both ladies going forward. If I'm spending premium venison on building relationships, I deserve premium souvenirs in return. Tonight's plan? Invite my queen over for a couple's portrait session. In bed. Under the covers. For artistic purposes only. Pulled up my daily intel before heading out. Today's drop. A patch of prime hazel mushrooms under a dead pine tree at Turtle Ditch, about to hit peak ripeness. 12-hour window before they go bad. Turtle Ditch. Let me tell you about Northeast Chinese place names. They're named by whoever walked past first and said the first thing that popped into their head. Turtle Ditch, Toad Pond, Ghost Town, Big Bald Mountain. No committee meetings. No surveys. Some farmer 6 generations ago looked at a ditch shaped like a turtle and said, Turtle Ditch, and that was legally binding forever. Democracy at its most efficient. Hiked 7 or 8 miles into the mountains and found the mushroom motherlode. A carpet of golden hazel mushrooms spread across the pine needles like nature's treasure chest. Caps still partially closed, meaning perfect timing. These bad boys dried and rehydrated with chicken? That's the legendary chicken stewed with mushrooms, the crown jewel of Northeast Chinese cuisine. Restaurant quality cooking ingredient, handed to me for free by my intel system. Picked every single one and tossed them into my farm dimension to air dry at triple speed. 2 days, and I'd have enough dried mushrooms to last months. Started walking home feeling like the luckiest man alive. Then heard something whimpering nearby. Found a roe deer caught in a metal trap, leg clamped shut, barely breathing. Not my trap, not my deer. But possession is 9/10 of the law, and the other 10th is finders keepers. Pried open the trap, swept both the deer and the trap into my inventory. Free meat and a free trap? The forest is basically my personal grocery store at this point. If some hunter comes looking for his catch, good luck, buddy. That deer now exists in a pocket dimension accessible only to me. File a police report with the interdimensional authorities. Started strolling downhill, whistling a happy tune, singing to myself about what a great day it was. Mushrooms, collected. Free deer, stolen. Blackmail photos, developed. Relationships, progressing. Life, incredible. Then a voice behind me exploded. Freeze. Don't move. My whistling died in my throat like a bird hitting a window. Every single time. Every time I'm having a good moment, someone yells at me from behind. Is this a feature of 1975, or am I just cursed? Freeze. Don't move. Turned around to find 2 guys pointing homemade guns at my chest in a perfect crossfire formation. High cheekbones, single eyelids, wearing clothes that looked like they'd been through 3 wars and lost all of them. I knew immediately. These were hunters from across the northern border. Snuck over during the morning fog to poach animals on our side. That trap I stole the deer from? Yeah, that was theirs. Awkward. Played it cool. Raised my hands nice and slow. Hey fellas. I'm just a worker from the camp downhill. I didn't see you. You didn't see me. We go our separate ways. Everybody's happy. The older one looked me over, nodded, and waved me off. Go. Quick. Great. Diplomacy works. I turned to leave. Wait. The younger one had spotted my shotgun. His beady little eyes locked onto it like a raccoon spotting a trash can. You can go. The gun stays. Oh. Oh no. No, 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 no. Listen, buddy. 5 minutes ago we were about to part as peaceful strangers. You could have gone home with your traps and your sad little bag of sweet potato chips and lived a full life. But you just had to get greedy. You just had to eye my gun like it was the last piece of candy on earth. You have no idea who you're messing with. Sure thing. I'll put it down. Bend over real slow, set the shotgun on the ground, kicked it forward a little. The young idiot grinned like he'd won the lottery, big yellow teeth everywhere, slung his junky gun over his shoulder, and trotted down the slope to grab my weapon. Even turned around to brag to his buddy in their language. Probably saying something like, "Look how smart I am." Free gun. He never saw the bayonet. The second he bent down for my shotgun, I flicked my wrist, and Wong Wenhua's 3-sided military blade materialized in my palm. 1 leap, arm around his neck, 2 stabs, chest and throat. Done before he could close his mouth. His partner on the hill reacted on pure instinct and fired his homemade gun. But I was already using yellow teeth as a human shield. The entire blast of iron pellets hit his buddy square in the chest instead of me. Friendly fire. Thanks for the assist, old man. Shoved the body aside, dove for my shotgun, rolled, aimed, and fired both barrels into the older guy's back as he tried to run. At 15 meters, 2 solid slugs hit him like a freight train, punched 2 holes through him, and launched him into a birch tree. He slid down it like a deflating balloon. Total elapsed time, maybe 6 seconds. Reloaded before celebrating. Checked the perimeter. Nobody else around. Then I let myself breathe. Dragged both bodies into my farm dimension. System, convert, and the system went crazy. Farm expanded to 5 whole acres. Got 2 more points of physical strength. Learned fluent Korean and intermediate trap setting skills from their absorbed memories. And the big prize, because my farm hit the 5-acre milestone, the system unlocked a spirit spring. A little rock formation popped up in my dimension with a tiny stream of magic water trickling out. Tasted a drop. Clean, sweet, and refreshing, like drinking liquid health insurance. The system said it heals diseases, fixes wounds 5 times faster than normal, and generally makes you healthier. Only catch, it produces just 100 milliliters per day. That's like half a cup, but free magic healing water is free magic healing water. I'll take it. Stood there for a moment processing the fact that I'd just killed 2 armed men with a kitchen knife and a combat roll. My heart rate, barely elevated. Hands, steady as rocks. Something about absorbing all this physical enhancement was making my brain colder, calmer. The old me would have been shaking for hours after something like that. New me was already thinking about dinner plans. Not sure if that's character growth or something I should be worried about. Either way, in 1975 Northeast China, being soft gets you killed. Being hard gets you spirit springs. Search their stuff hoping for treasure. Found 2 guns so rusty they might actually be classified as tetanus delivery devices, a small bag of dried sweet potato, some ropes, and 5 or 6 rusty animal traps. No wonder you wanted my gun. You guys were carrying equipment from the Stone Age. Kept the traps though. Planted them along animal trails around Turtle Ditch using my freshly downloaded trap setting knowledge. Didn't even bother fully cleaning up the blood. These guys were undocumented border crossers. Nobody on our side was going to file a missing persons report for them. They basically never existed. The blood stains might even attract curious animals into my traps. Recycling at its finest. Butchered the deer from earlier too. System carved it up automatically. 35 pounds of meat, some organs, 1 damaged hide. Less impressive than the spotted deer, but free protein doesn't get complaints. Planted corn on my 2 new acres, triple-timed the growth speed, and popped back to reality. Feeling like I'd just completed a full day's work in a video game. Leveled up, looted the boss, expanded my base, and unlocked a new resource node. Headed downhill carrying a skinned deer carcass on my shoulder, stopped at the creek to wash the blood off my clothes. Just casually scrubbing murder evidence out of my jacket in a babbling brook. Peaceful afternoon. Then the bushes rustled and a head popped out. Where have you been? I've been waiting forever, Suwon. Grinning ear to ear, clearly planning to cash in on another dinner date. Then her eyes traveled down to my blood-soaked everything, and her face shifted from flirty to horrified. Linimo, why is there so much blood on you? Great question, Suwon. Great question. Let me think of a fun answer that doesn't involve the phrase, killed 2 armed men with a bayonet. Why is there so much blood on you? Didn't even look up. Just nodded toward the skinned deer carcass lying right there on the bank. Splashed on me when I was skinning that thing. See, this is why I carried the deer down the mountain instead of storing it in my invisible pocket dimension. Need a cover story for the blood? Point at dead animal. Case closed. Suwon bought it instantly and immediately pivoted to what really mattered to her. You're amazing. You actually caught something. We're eating meat again tonight, right? This girl had been waiting for me. Went to my cabin, found it locked, figured out I was hunting, and literally camped on the trail to ambush me on the way home. Like a toll booth operator, except the toll is venison. She squatted by the creek watching me wash the blood off my clothes, shirtless, because the jacket was the thing that needed cleaning, and I caught her staring. Eyes glued to my torso like she'd never seen a man before. Since when does he look like this? I could practically hear her brain short-circuiting. Fair reaction. The old me was a scrawny farm boy. But 5 premium, organic matter, absorptions later, my system had basically sculpted me into a Greek statue. 8-pack abs, defined muscles everywhere, the works. Plus my Yonggang deer blood buff meant I was washing in ice-cold creek water in September without even flinching. Other guys would catch pneumonia. I was basically hot tubbing. Then she hit me with, I'm hungry. Let's roast a deer leg, I said sure. But first, wash my bloody jacket. EW, that's too dirty. I'm not washing that. I'm sorry, what? Let me get this straight. Last night you showed up at my door crying, begging me for food, saying you'd do anything. I fed you premium venison. I provided additional services. And now, one meal later, you're already too good to wash a jacket? My queen would have grabbed that jacket without me even asking. She'd have it clean, dried, folded, and probably embroidered with little flowers before I finished my sentence. But this one full stomach, and she's back to acting like a princess giving orders to the help. I picked up my clothes, picked up my deer, and started walking home without a word. She chased after me, grabbed my arm. Where are you going? Didn't you hear me? I said I'm hungry. And why is that my problem? Because you slept with me last night. Oh, honey. Oh, sweet, naive, calculating little honey. I've slept with plenty of women. You're not special. She turned purple, started swinging at my chest. Before she landed a single hit, I gave her 2 solid smacks on the backside. Not gentle ones. She sucked air through her teeth so hard I thought she'd inhale a bird. 2 options, I said, calm as a lake. 1, you do what I say when I say it. 2, you leave. Right now? Pick. Her eyes were watering, but her jaw was set. The snitch instinct kicked in. If you don't feed me, I'll report you to the authorities for assault. There it is. The nuclear option. Classic move. Threatened to blow everything up and bet that I'm too scared of the consequences to call her bluff. In this era, that kind of accusation could get a man locked up for life. Or worse. She figured I'd fold like a cheap chair. She figured wrong. I reached into my pocket and flicked a photograph right onto her face. Take a look at this. She picked it up. Her face went from angry to ashen in about half a second. The photo showed her from last night. Neck flushed, eyes half closed, expression that could only be described as enthusiastically voluntary. Not exactly the face of someone being forced to do anything against her will. When did you take this? Last night. Remember when I said, you eat yours, I eat mine? Well, I also took mine. T.O. go. Her hands were shaking. Then she did something I honestly didn't expect. She ripped the photo into pieces and ate it. Literally chewed up the evidence and swallowed it like it was the world's worst meal. Bold move. Stupid, but bold. I waited until she'd choked down every last piece of photographic paper. Then, with the theatrical timing of a magician pulling a rabbit from a hat, I slowly produced a second photo from my other pocket. This one was even spicier. More skin. More expression. More. This was definitely consensual. Want to eat another one? Go ahead. I've got calories to spare. How? How many of these do you have? Guess. Her face crumbled. The first photo was free fiber. But she couldn't eat an entire photo album. Every picture I had was a loaded weapon pointed at her reputation, and she had no idea how much ammunition I was carrying. I stepped forward and gently took hold of her chin, smiled my warmest smile. Now imagine all of these photos pinned to the community bulletin board at camp headquarters. Which one of us gets destroyed first? Game. Set. Match. In 1975, those photos were a death sentence for her social life. Forget reporting me. If these got out, she'd be the one branded and shamed. Her entire threat evaporated like morning dew. Her shoulders sagged. The fight drained out of her completely. Lynn M.O. I was wrong. I'll wash your clothes. Music to my ears. But I wasn't done restructuring this relationship. New rules. In public, you call me Lynn M.O. In private, you call me something else. What? Master, she cried. Actually cried. She came into this thinking she'd found a gullible farm boy she could manipulate into becoming her personal meal ticket. Instead, she walked straight into the jaws of someone who'd spent a previous lifetime absorbing internet wisdom about exactly this kind of scheme. She thought she was the chess player. She was the pawn. Through gritted teeth, barely above a whisper. Yes. Master. Perfect. Now, I tossed my bloody jacket into her arms and pointed at the creek. My clothes, my socks, my shoes. All yours from now on. Get scrubbing. She knelt by the water, tears dripping into the creek while she scrubbed. My heart bled for her. Just kidding. My heart was grilling deer meat and feeling fantastic. Right about then, my queen came running through the trees in a total panic. Lynn M.O. I heard gunshots this afternoon, and you never came home. I thought something happened to you. She was genuinely terrified, nearly in tears from worry. This is what a real woman looks like. Someone who hears a bang and runs toward the danger because she's scared for you, not someone who shows up demanding food with zero emotional investment. Then she spotted Suwan, kneeling by the creek, silently washing my clothes. Suwan, the proudest, most standoffish girl in the entire camp, doing laundry for a man without being asked twice. My queen's brain visibly broke. Suwan. What is she? Why is she? I smiled my most innocent smile and put my arm around my queen's shoulder. Oh, Suwan. She's just being a wonderful comrade. Volunteered to help me with laundry and cooking out of pure revolutionary spirit. Isn't that right, Comrade Suwan? From the creek, without looking up, came a very small, very defeated voice. Yes, 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 yes. I'm voluntarily washing Lin Mo's clothes. Revolutionary friendship. Suwan squeezed out a smile that looked like someone trying to grin while chewing a lemon. My queen, being the angel she is, immediately tried to take over. You can't make Suwan do your laundry. Let me. I grabbed her wrist before she took one step. Absolutely not. These hands are not for scrubbing clothes. They're soft, they're delicate, and they have much more important things to hold. She turned the color of a fire truck. Suwan kept scrubbing. I tore off a piece of crispy roasted deer skin and popped it into my queen's mouth, like feeding a baby bird. Good? MMHM. She nodded with her cheeks full. Of course it's good. Fresh roasted wild deer dripping with fat in an era where most people haven't seen meat in weeks? That's not food. That's a religious experience. From now on, I announced loud enough for Suwan to hear, all the hard work, laundry, cooking, cleaning, goes to Suwan. And any chores you don't want to do at the girls' cabin? Also Suwan. From the creek, a tiny defeated voice. Fine. Whatever you say, former rich girl. Current laundry maid. Life comes at you fast. Here's my management philosophy. In a household with multiple women, the man needs absolute authority. I decide who's the queen and who's the servant. My queen gets the throne, the meat, and the soft hands. Suwan gets the soap, the cold water, and a lesson in humility. Everybody has a role. Everybody stays in their lane. Harmony achieved. Next morning I woke up to the usual situation. Deer blood buff still going strong. Both kidneys charged to maximum, like they'd been plugged into a wall socket all night. Looked down at the evidence of my excellent health and sighed. Should not have let both women go home last night. But my queen had grabbed Suwan and taken her back to the girls' cabin before I could object. Can't exactly make a move when they're traveling in pairs. Clever formation, ladies. Eventually, I need to sit everyone down and have the talk. Get the relationship dynamics out in the open. Then I can officially move them both in. But my queen has a stubborn streak hiding under all that sweetness, so I have to play it slow. And Suwan. She submitted yesterday, but I guarantee her scheming little brain is already plotting a comeback. Need to break her in a few more times until she accepts her position right down to her bones. No rush though. I'm the only man in a camp with 10 women. Nobody's going anywhere. Then my daily intel dropped something that made me smack my own forehead. Wait, I completely forgot about old Wu. The system reminded me. There's a man named Wu Ijia living in the neighboring work group. His real identity? Vice President of Peking University. Currently labeled an enemy of the people and living in a dirt hole. Gets rehabilitated in exactly 1 year and goes back to Beijing with his reputation fully restored. My dad talked about this guy for years. Slapped his own leg every time he told the story. If I'd just given that old man a couple of boiled eggs, I could have gotten you into the best university in China. Dad's biggest regret, right after not making a move on my queen. Well, Dad, your son isn't going to make the same mistake. Rule number 1 of investing. Buy low, sell high. And right now, a future university vice president is trading at rock bottom. Everyone's kicking him while he's down. Nobody wants to be seen near him. Which means anyone who helps him now, in his darkest hour, earns loyalty that money can't buy later. Grabbed half a pound of corn flour, wrapped it up, and walked over to his place. His home was a dirt dugout, basically a cave with a door, built 20 years ago, 0 sunlight, half underground. The man was living like a mole person. When I knocked, it took forever for him to answer. The door cracked open, and a skeleton wearing skin peeked out. Cheekbones like doorknobs, eyes sunk deep into his skull, pure terror on his face. Comrade, where are we going for the criticism session? Should I prepare my self-criticism letter? He thought I was here to drag him to another public humiliation. That's his default assumption when someone knocks. Nobody visits him except to punish him. My heart actually hurt. Mr. Wu, I'm not here for any of that. I'm Lin Mo from the workers' camp next door. Heard you're having a rough time. Brought you a little something. Pushed the bag of corn flour through the door crack and walked away. Didn't wait for thanks. Didn't chat. Just left. This was strategic. First visit, you keep it casual. Small gift, no strings, no lingering. If I showed up with bags of food and a big smile, a man who's been beaten and betrayed for years would think it's a setup. He'd assume I wanted something, or that it was some cruel trick before another round of punishment. A last meal before execution. But half a pound of cheap corn flour? That says, I'm just a kid from next door who felt bad for you. Natural. Innocent. Non-threatening. He'd eat it over 2 or 3 days, and when it ran out, I'd swing by again with something else. Then again, and again. Slowly, his guard would come down. Slowly, he'd start to trust me. That's when the real relationship begins. Could I actually get into Peking University through him? Maybe. Honestly, though, that's just a bonus. With my system, my farm, and my growing collection of absorbed superpowers, I don't need a degree. But having a vice president of China's top university owing you a favor? That's the kind of connection that pays dividends forever. Checked my animal traps on the way home. All empty. Expected. Fresh traps still smell like human hands. Animals aren't stupid. Give it a couple days for the scent to fade, and then we'll see what walks into my investment portfolio. Wandered around the forest with my shotgun, hoping to bump into something shootable. Found nothing except cold wind. My cotton jacket was falling apart. The padding had hardened into stiff blocks after years of use, and the wind cut right through it like it wasn't even there. Had a plan for that, too. Wang Wenhua's stash included brand new military coats and quilts stuffed with premium cotton. Can't wear military gear directly. Way too suspicious. But I could rip out the cotton, have it refluffed at a cotton shop, buy some plain fabric, and make a new civilian jacket. Nobody would ever trace the cotton back to a military supply. The perfect crime against winter. Was still mentally designing my new wardrobe when I spotted something ahead that made my stomach drop. All 10 female workers. Every single one. Standing outside my cabin. Waiting for me. What the? Why is there a crowd outside my house? My first thought. Suwon snitched. She actually went nuclear. Told everyone everything. The photos, the blackmail, all of it. Oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Walked up to my cabin and saw all 10 women standing outside like a welcoming committee. My first thought. Suwon went nuclear. Told everyone everything. I'm dead. Braced for the worst. Started mentally calculating how many people I could fit into my farm dimension. Then they swarmed me like excited puppies. Where have you been? We've been waiting forever. We need your help. Are you free today? Oh, it's not a lynch mob. It's a request. My blood pressure dropped about 40 points. Whoa. I can help, but all 10 of you at once. Even my body has limits. Nobody laughed except me. Worth it though. My queen squeezed through the crowd to explain. Today was market day in the county town. They'd borrowed a horse cart, but, plot twist, not a single one of these city girls knew how to drive one. So 10 women had been standing outside my door since dawn, waiting for the one dude in camp who could hold reins. That's IT? You just need a driver? Let's go. Loaded everyone up. 9 girls piled in the back like sardines. My queen claimed the seat next to me, blushing, and secretly hooked her pinky finger around mine. This girl wanted to hold hands, but was too shy to actually do it. Absolutely killing me. I grabbed her whole hand, kissed the back of it when nobody was looking, and called it my service fee for being their personal chauffeur. Suwon sat in the very back corner, as far from me as physically possible without falling off the cart. Yesterday's lesson clearly made an impression. She looked at me the way a mouse looks at a cat who just ate its entire family. Good. Training is working. Market was already buzzing when we arrived. Tied up the cart, set a meeting time, and the girls scattered like confetti into the crowd. My queen stayed glued to my side because she's perfect. Did you eat breakfast? Some sweet potato porridge. That's not food. Come on. I'm taking you to a real restaurant. Walked into the state-run diner. Coal stove smell, steamy windows, actual meat on the menu. With $800 of dead man's money burning a hole in my pocket, I ordered like a king. Stir-fried vegetables, sweet and sour pork stew with glass noodles, pickled cabbage with pork belly, and dumpling soup. For dishes and a soup. In 1975, for 2 people, that's not lunch. That's a declaration of war against poverty. My queen protested it was too much. I told her we'd take leftovers home and mix them together tomorrow for banquet remix stew. Problem solved. Economics. Then I noticed a tiny figure squatting on the restaurant steps outside. Su-won, curled up like a stray cat, looking pitiful enough to make a statue cry. My queen's heart melted instantly. She went outside, grabbed Su-won's arm, and dragged her in. Come eat. It's cold out there. Su-won shuffled in with her head down. Couldn't even make eye contact with me. When the food arrived, my queen started eating immediately. Su-won just sat there, staring at me, chopsticks hovering, not touching a single dish. I understood immediately. In old wealthy Chinese families, nobody eats until the head of household picks up his chopsticks first. She was waiting for my permission. I picked up a piece of pork. All right, eat. She launched into that food like she hadn't eaten in a week. Which, honestly, was basically true. This was a milestone. She wasn't just obeying out of fear anymore. She was instinctively recognizing me as the boss. The alpha. The man of the house. When I say eat, you eat. When I say stop, you stop. That's not just compliance. That's acceptance. Beautiful. After lunch, my queen ran into some friends from another camp and got pulled away to go shopping. She looked back at me with those, I don't want to leave you, eyes, but I waved her off. Go have fun. I'll wait here. The second she disappeared, I turned to Su-won. Follow me. Her heart visibly stopped. But she didn't ask where. Didn't argue. Just followed. Smart girl. Yesterday, she learned that asking questions leads to consequences. We wound through back alleys, deeper and deeper into the quiet part of town. Her footsteps got slower. Her breathing got faster. She had no idea where we were going, but she could tell it was somewhere private. Then I pulled out a key and opened the door to Wang Wenhua's secret apartment. You have a house in town? I didn't answer. Just smacked her backside and pointed inside. Less questions. More climbing onto that bed. Now, she went stiff as a board, ears burning red. But she knew her position in the food chain. Kicked off her shoes. Climbed up. Didn't say a word. The deer blood buff was really earning its keep today. 1 hour later, back at the cart. My queen returned from shopping carrying fabric and candy, spotted me sunbathing by the cart, and noticed Su-won lying face down in the wagon clutching her rear in like she'd been in a horseback riding accident. Su-won, what's wrong? Are you sick? She reached over to check her temperature. Before Su-won could answer, I jumped in smoothly. She's fine. Just ate too much meat at lunch. Upset stomach. You know how it is when you haven't had real food in months. Su-won nodded weakly. Yes, I ate too much. My queen scolded her gently. You can't just stuff yourself. Even good food will make you sick if you overdo it. Su-won shot me one single look of pure suffering. She knew exactly why she was hurting. I knew exactly why she was hurting, and I'd taken photographs of exactly why she was hurting. Her evidence file was growing by the hour. Drove everyone home. The girls were all chatting excitedly about their shopping finds, energized from a day out. Women and shopping. A combination that has survived every political revolution, every war, every famine. Impressive. That evening, the girls' cabin was buzzing with gossip about the market. Su-won was buried under her blanket recovering from her digestive issues. I told her to come visit me after dinner for another chat. She lay there dreading it. Then, miracle from heaven, she saw my queen quietly tiptoeing out the door, sneaking toward my cabin. Su-won almost screamed with joy, kicked off her shoes, flopped backward onto her bed, and hugged her blanket like it was a life preserver. Bless you, Julin. Bless your beautiful soul. She's going instead. I'm saved, somewhere in the darkness, heading toward my cabin with rosy cheeks and butterflies. My queen had no idea she'd just volunteered as tribute. And Su-won had never been more grateful for another woman's romantic initiative in her entire life. Knock knock. Opened the door expecting Su-won reporting for duty. Got my queen instead. Even better. Look, when you've got a deer blood buff running at full power, it doesn't matter who shows up. The kitchen is always open. But unlike Su-won, who gets the boot camp experience, my queen gets the 5-star luxury treatment. Gentle, caring, romantic, the whole package. Afterward, we cuddled on the bed while she told me about her day at the market. Apparently, some girls from the next town said a giant brown bear has been terrorizing their area. Destroyed cornfields, dodged 2 organized hunting parties, stands taller than a man. Most people hear giant bear and think danger. I heard giant bear and thought, how many stat points is that worth? My brain is broken in the best possible way. Then I pulled out the camera. Hey babe, let me take a few pictures? She covered the lens with both hands. No, absolutely not. 5 minutes of sweet talking and strategic hand placement later. Fine. But you can't show anyone. Obviously. These are for my private collection. Clicked away like a fashion photographer at a runway show. Got about 15 shots. Then we posed for one proper couple's photo. Her leaning on my shoulder, smiling like a newlywed. Actually pretty cute. Even my cold recycling people into fertilizer heart felt warm. She left around midnight. Didn't want people noticing she was gone. Door closed. Silence. Peace. For exactly 3 minutes. Knock, knock, knock. Sue Wan. Standing at my door with the calculated timing of a chess grandmaster. Her logic was flawless on paper. My queen just left. I must be exhausted. So showing up now means she fulfills her obligation without actually suffering. Maybe score some snacks. In and out, easy night. Her logic was also catastrophically wrong. The deer blood buff doesn't do. Exhausted. She walked in expecting a light appetizer and got served a 12-course banquet she never ordered. Within minutes, she was face down on the bed regretting every life decision that led to this moment. She left at some ungodly hour, using the wall as a crutch, walking like a cowboy who'd been riding for 6 days straight. But I'd given her a chocolate on the way out. Carrot and stick. Stick and chocolate. Same principle. Popped into my farm dimension, drank some Spirit spring water. Instant full recovery, like plugging in a dead phone and watching it jump to 100%. Then developed all of today's photos. Sue Wan from the afternoon session at the secret apartment. My queen from tonight. Side by side on the table, two completely different types of beauty. One like a delicate southern orchid, the other like a rare imperial flower. My personal art gallery was really coming together. Next morning, slept ingloriously. Made corn porridge. Then got to work on something practical, winter clothes. Ripped the cotton padding out of all 3 dead guys' coats. Waste not, want not. Stuffed it into a big sack and biked to the cotton fluffing shop in town. The old craftsman grabbed a handful and his eyes went wide. Son, this is premium cotton. Enough for a thick quilt. You sure you just want one jacket? Light bulb moment. 3 men's worth of cotton padding equals 3 new winter outfits. One for me, one for my queen, one for Sue Wan. Even tyrants need to keep their people warm. Make 3 sets. 1 men's, 2 women's. He asked for the women's measurements. Without a millisecond of hesitation, my hands started sculpting invisible bodies in the air. This bust, this waist, these hips, tall and slender for outfit number 1, tiny and compact for outfit number 2. After several days of very thorough hands-on research, I could build both women from memory using nothing but clay and determination. The old man watched me gesture and chuckled. Married young, eh? Your daughter's already this tall. He thought the small one was my daughter. Sue Wan, the hobbit-sized former rich girl, was being mistaken for my child. I almost choked on my own spit, trying not to laugh. Somewhere in the universe, Sue Wan sneezed and didn't know why. Paid $5, pickup in 3 days. Then hit the supply store for another 40 pounds of corn flour. Small amounts. Boring product. Nobody remembers the guy buying the same cheap stuff everyone buys. Gray man strategy. But my grain tickets were almost gone. Down to 30 pounds worth. In 1975, tickets are more important than cash. No ticket, no food. Doesn't matter how much money you're waving around. Might need to hit the black market soon, but winter prices are highway robbery. My backup plan: hunt more, grow more, and wait for my magic farm's first harvest. Speaking of which, teleported into my farm and nearly gasped. It had only been about a week in real time, but at triple speed, a full month had passed inside. Corn stalks were waist-high and flowering. Potato plants had egg-sized tubers underground. And the cucumbers, oh man, 8 perfect specimens hanging from the vines, crisp and fresh with little flower caps still on top. Everything else, tomatoes, watermelons, sunflowers, spinach, all growing beautifully. At this rate, first major harvest hits right when the first snow falls outside. Eating fresh watermelon during a blizzard. That's not farming, that's a flex. Grabbed a cucumber straight off the vine, bit into it, crunch, and felt like the richest man in Northeast China. Which, technically, I probably was. Nobody else had an interdimensional greenhouse. Biked back, returned the bicycle, grabbed my shotgun, and hiked up to Turtle Ditch to check my trap line. First 4 traps, empty. Disappointing, but expected. Fresh human scent takes days to fade. 5th trap, jackpot. A fat wild rabbit, 3 or 4 pounds, dangling there waiting for me. Finally, we're in business. Reset the trap, pocketed the rabbit, started heading home feeling pretty good about life. Then I walked out of the tree line, and my good mood evaporated like water on a hot stove. A military jeep, parked outside my camp. Wang Wenhua's uncle, the county official. The guy with the government connections who'd been protecting those 3 scumbags I turned into plant food. He was here, at my camp, looking for his missing boys. My grip tightened on my shotgun. Every cell in my body went from happy farmer to threat assessment mode in about half a second. The game just got a lot more interesting. Walked out of the forest carrying a rabbit and saw a military jeep parked outside my camp. My stomach did a backflip. Wang Wenhua's Uncle Zhang, the county official who'd been babysitting that rich brat from a distance, had finally shown up for a visit. Brought gift baskets and everything. Except his precious golden boy was nowhere to be found. Because his precious golden boy was currently enriching my soil at a molecular level. The girls had already told him the cover story. Wang Wenhua and the others couldn't handle the tough life and ran away about a week ago. Uncle Zhang was standing in the middle of camp looking like someone had slapped him with a frozen fish. His brain was doing the math. Wang Wenhua was sent here to hide from trouble back home. Why would he run back to the place he was hiding from? But then again, the kid was lazy, spoiled, and dumber than a bag of hammers. Maybe he really did get homesick and bolt. He sent his driver racing back to town to telegram Beijing. 2 hours later, the answer came back. 6 words. Wang Wenhua has not returned. Uncle Zhang's face went from concern to, my career is over, in real time. The kid wasn't at camp, wasn't at home, wasn't anywhere. That's the kind of situation that makes government officials start updating their resumes. Then he spotted me walking down from the mountain. His eyes narrowed like a snake spotting a mouse. Bring that worker over for questioning. Fair enough. For guys in camp, 3 vanished, 1 remains. Even I'd find that suspicious. It's like being the only person left standing at the end of a murder mystery dinner and insisting you have no idea what happened. But I'd rehearsed this scene 100 times in my head. Lin Mo, the girls say Wang Wenhua ran off. What do you know about it? Shrugged casually. How would I know? I work all day in the fields. Those guys never worked a single shift, just sat around smoking and drinking. By the time I came home, they were already gone. Then why didn't you run with them, sir? Wang Wenhua bragged every day about his powerful parents in Beijing. He runs home, somebody protects him. I run home. My parents are regular factory workers. I'd lose my official residency, ruin their lives, and end up worse than before. Here I at least get fed, solid logic. Unshakable reasoning. He couldn't poke a single hole in it. What about Li Weidong? He's from a regular family too. Why'd he run? That guy had no backbone. Wang Wenhua bought him meat and booze, so Li Weidong followed him around like a trained dog. Figured riding Wang's coattails would get him somewhere in life. Uncle Zhang's face twitched. That comment hit a little too close to home. After all, he was basically doing the exact same thing, following the Wang family around hoping for a promotion. I might have been describing Li Weidong, but we both knew who else that description fit. He coughed awkwardly and asked where I thought they went. No clue. Wang Wenhua used to brag about having thousands of yuan from his parents. With that kind of money, he could live comfortably anywhere. Probably off partying somewhere. He waved me away. Drove off looking like a man who just realized his retirement fund invested in something that no longer exists. My queen sprinted over the second the jeep disappeared. Are you okay? I'm fine. He just asked some questions. Oh, thank goodness. So it's over. I looked at the dust trail the jeep left behind and shook my head. No, this is just the beginning. Wang Wenhua wasn't some nobody. He was a powerful family's only son. Uncle Zhang cannot just shrug and say, oh well, kids these days. Once he gets back to the county office and thinks this through with a clear head, he'll start a real investigation. And guess who's the only male worker left at the scene? My queen started trembling, grabbed onto me like I was about to be swept away by a flood. I'm scared, Lin Mo. I knew the real danger. Every witness to the original incident was dead, except her. She knew the whole truth. If investigators pressured her, or tricked her, or scared her into talking, everything would unravel. I needed her rock solid. Pulled out our couple's photo from last night and $50 in cash. Put them in her hands. Pointed at the grain storage. Listen carefully. Tomorrow or the day after, they're probably coming back for me. If they take me away, do not panic. Don't try to rescue me. Don't ask anyone for help. Don't do anything that connects us. As long as nobody suspects you, I'm safe. But if you say one wrong word or make one emotional move, I'm a dead man. She looked at the photo, the money, the food, everything I owned, handed over like a man writing his will. Tears poured down her face. Then something switched inside her. She threw her arms around my neck and kissed me like the world was ending tomorrow. This wasn't shy little Zhu Lin anymore. This was a woman who thought she might lose the only person protecting her, and she was going to make every remaining second count. Every technique she'd learned in our brief relationship, deployed, all of them, simultaneously, with interest. My queen went from blushing maiden to absolute warrior in the span of one kiss. I held on to her shaking body and thought, this is the woman who'll play a legendary queen on national television someday. And right now she's giving a performance. The deer blood buff and the queen's gratitude combined into something that should probably be classified as a natural disaster. But just like I predicted, happiness had an expiration date. Next morning, before sunrise, heavy knocking on my door. Men in uniforms. No smiles, no pleasantries. Get up. You're coming with us. Now. And just like that, my vacation was over. Got dragged out of bed before dawn by guys in uniforms. My queen stood there biting her lip so hard I thought she'd draw blood. I looked her dead in the eyes and shook my head once. The message was clear. Remember what I told you. Stay quiet. Stay calm. Don't blow our cover. She turned and walked inside before she could do something stupid like cry in public. Good girl. Suwon looked terrified too, but for completely different reasons. She wasn't worried about me. She was worried about her photos. If I cracked under pressure and those pictures surfaced, her social life would be deader than Wang Wenhua. Which is saying something, because Wang Wenhua is literally fertilizer. They hauled me to the county office, asked their questions, took my fingerprints, and tossed me into the local jail. Now, when I say jail, in 1970s Northeast China, I don't mean concrete walls and steel bars. The whole place was surrounded by a bamboo fence. A literal picket fence. The cells were straw huts. It looked less like a prison and more like a summer camp designed by someone who hated fun. Don't let the shabby look fool you, though. The guards had rifles and zero hesitation about using them. You hop that fence, you become a cautionary tale. Zhang Daohai's plan became obvious within the first day. Work me to death at the rock quarry during the day, feed me nothing but watery cabbage soup at meals. Classic, break the eagle, technique. Exhaust the body, starve the mind. And within 3 days most people are so destroyed they'll confess to crimes they didn't commit just to make it stop. Most people don't have an interdimensional farming dimension with a snack bar. Not enough food. I pulled dried deer jerky from my invisible inventory and chewed it like bubblegum when nobody was looking. No time to rest. During yard time, I'd find a quiet corner, pop into my farm dimension, and take a luxury nap under blue skies and warm sunshine. Triple time speed meant 15 minutes outside equaled nearly an hour of sleep inside. I was getting more rest in prison than I got at home. 3 days of their best, breaking, tactics, and I walked into the interrogation room looking appropriately miserable on the outside, while feeling absolutely fantastic on the inside. Same questions, same answers. Word for word, comma for comma, didn't change a single detail. The officers exchanged glances that basically said, this kid is either innocent or made of iron. Since the soft approach failed, they went hard. That night, the cell boss, a beefy thug named Lu Dabiao, and his 2 goons came slithering over in the dark. Hey, new fish, who said you could sleep by the window? Move your butt over by the toilet. The toilet was a bucket in the corner that smelled like a chemical weapon. Sleeping next to it was basically biological warfare. This was their classic move, humiliate the new guy, and if he fights back, 3 against 1 takes care of it. Listen, kid, Lou sneered. Orders from upstairs say we gotta give you a hard time. Play nice, and maybe we'll go easy. But if you want to be tough, he never finished that sentence because my fist was already buried in his stomach. His 200-pound body folded in half like a lawn chair, and he dropped to his knees hugging his belly. His 2 buddies opened their mouths to curse at me. My fists were faster than their vocabulary. 30 seconds. That's all it took. 3 prison tough guys, all curled up on the floor like shrimp at a seafood market. The rest of the cellmates pressed themselves against the walls, barely breathing. I tied all 3 idiots to the toilet bucket with their own belts, then turned to face the room. Anyone want to file a complaint with the guards? Go ahead. I'll wait right here. Nope. No complaints. We saw nothing. They tripped. All 3 of them. At the same time. Very slippery floor. Went back to bed. Slept like a baby. The whole cell was so quiet you could hear heartbeats. Next day, Lu Dabiao and friends got carried to the infirmary. After that, they walked in wide circles around me like I had a force field. The authorities tried their last card, solitary confinement. Threw me in a tiny dark room for 3 days as punishment for assaulting inmates. This was supposed to be psychological torture. No light, no company, no stimulation. Most people lose their minds within 48 hours. I entered my farm dimension before the door even finished closing. Blue skies, warm sun, fresh air. I drank magic spring water. Roasted the rabbit I'd caught earlier over a campfire until it was golden and dripping with juice. Read through Li Weidong's books while petting my baby deer. When I got bored of reading, I started processing the deer and roe hides into leather using a knife. Productive crafting session. 3 days of solitary confinement was basically a spa vacation with a side of leatherworking class. When they opened the iron door expecting a broken, hollow-eyed wreck, they found me looking healthier than when I went in. Rosy cheeks, bright eyes, fully rested. I practically glowed. Final interrogation. Same story. Same words. They had nothing. No evidence. No witnesses. No confession. No body. And I was officially just a sent-down worker, not an actual criminal. They couldn't hold me forever on vibes alone. Day 7. Released. I walked to the gate, turned around, and gave the guards my biggest, friendliest smile. Goodbye, officers. Take care. They stared at me like I was an alien. Nobody walks out of a week in lockup grinning and waving like they just checked out of a hotel. Something was deeply wrong with this picture, and they knew it. Kid, get out of here. And please, let's not meet again. This isn't a nice place, you know. And hey, no hard feelings, right? We were just following orders. The guy upstairs told us to do it. Don't blame us. They even gave me a cigarette. These tough prison guards were suddenly nervous about a teenager they'd just spent a week trying to break. Good instinct, fellas. You have no idea how close you came to becoming agricultural supplements. Actually, it was that cigarette and those apologetic words that saved their lives. They showed respect. They acknowledged they were just pawns. I filed them under, not worth recycling, and moved on. Took a long drag. Turned around. And the smile vanished from my face like someone flipped a switch. Zhang Daohai, you threw me in a cage for 7 days. Tried to starve me. Tried to break me. Sent thugs to beat me in the dark. You wanted to play this game? Fine. Let's play. But just so you know, the last 3 people who got on my bad side are currently nourishing my tomato plants. And my farm could always use more fertilizer. Walked back to camp like a man returning from a business trip, not a week in jail. The girls swarmed me immediately, buzzing with gossip. What happened? Why'd they take you? Are you a criminal? Relax, ladies. County just needed me to answer some questions about Wang Wenhua running away. Asked their questions, got their answers, sent me home. Boring stuff. Pushed open my cabin door expecting a dusty mess after a week away. Instead, spotless. Clean windows, swept floor, organized everything. Someone had been maintaining my house like a shrine while I was gone. Had to be my queen. Then I turned around and saw something that genuinely short-circuited my brain. My queen and Su Wan, standing side by side, in my doorway, together, looking like they'd been waiting for me, as a team. What's happening here? Su Wan spoke first. While you were gone, Zhu Lin cried every night under her blanket. I felt so bad for her that I told her everything. About us. My queen nodded, eyes still red. I know everything now. And Su Wan is just a girl with a hard life. I don't blame her. I'm sorry, what? I went to jail for 7 days. And while I was getting starved and beaten and thrown in solitary confinement, these two were having a bonding session. They went from queen and servant to sisters because they both missed the same man. There's an old saying, external pressure resolves internal conflict. My arrest literally united my harem. Getting thrown in jail was the best relationship counseling I never paid for. Anyway, I'd been locked up for 7 days. My farm was stocked, My body was rested, my spirit was strong. Only one thing was missing during that entire week, and it was standing right in front of me. Times two, moving right along. Later that night, I pulled up my intel system. Hadn't checked it once during my jail stay. Was terrified of getting a time-sensitive tip while stuck behind bamboo fences, unable to act on it. 7 days of saved-up pulls. The system rewarded my patience. Blue tier. Rare grade intelligence. And what it told me made my eyeballs nearly pop out. The cotton-fluffing shop owner, the friendly old guy who'd made my winter clothes last week, was a sleeper agent. Code name, Dandelion. Real name, Michiba Masao. A Japanese spy who'd been hiding in China for almost 30 years. Originally an intelligence officer in the puppet Manchurian army during World War II. After Japan lost, he got captured, but instead of being properly dealt with, the losing side secretly recruited him to keep spying. He'd been posing as a cotton shop owner in this tiny county ever since. Weapons and a high-powered radio transmitter hidden in his house. Let me repeat that. The guy I handed my cotton to last week. The guy who measured my clothes and joked about my daughter was a Japanese military intelligence operative pretending to be a craftsman for 3 decades. I literally cannot go anywhere in this county without tripping over secret identities. Future TV queens, university vice presidents in hiding, foreign spies running fabric shops. Is anyone in this town actually who they say they are? But here's the beautiful part. This wasn't just intelligence. This was an opportunity. A foreign agent with hidden weapons and a radio? That's a goldmine. And the system gave me a 3-day window to act. Waited for dark. Drank some Spirit Spring water for the energy boost. Grabbed my shotgun and sprinted the entire distance to town in under 30 minutes. Enhanced body for the win. Normal people wouldn't dare travel at night with wolves and bears roaming, but I was covering ground like an Olympic athlete on rocket fuel. Knocked on his door at midnight. Who's there? Come back tomorrow. It's me, the kid who ordered 3 cotton outfits. I'm leaving town early tomorrow. Need to pick them up tonight. He grumbled, shuffled to the door, opened up in his pajamas, yawning. Started reaching for my clothes while muttering about, "You crazy young people," and asking if I brought the rest of the payment. I stepped inside, closed the door behind me, leaned against the frame. So, Michiba Masao, you've been hiding on the mainland for over 20 years. What exactly are you waiting for? The yawn froze on his face. Every trace of sleepy old craftsman vanished in a millisecond. His eyes went from drowsy to predator sharp, like a switch flipped inside his skull. No denial. No, what are you talking about? No confused old man act. Pure combat instinct. He threw my cotton clothes at my face as a distraction and dove for something under his bed. A weapon, obviously. Fast. Way too fast for a 50-something-year-old cotton shop owner. This guy still had his training. Unfortunately for him, I had the training of everyone I'd ever recycled plus system-enhanced reflexes plus the element of surprise. He never made it to whatever was under that bed. Absorbed his memories afterward. Fascinating stuff. Former lieutenant in the puppet Manchurian Intelligence Corps. Captured in 1945, then secretly turned by the retreating side to stay behind as a deep-cover operative. Been fluffing cotton and transmitting radio signals for nearly 3 decades. The fact that the losing side trusted a foreign agent to spy for them told me everything I needed to know about their decision-making skills. No wonder they lost. All right, Mr. Dandelion. Let's see what 30 years of spy savings look like. Pried up the stone slab under his bed using his own memories as a treasure map. Nearly 3 decades of accumulated spy gear, hidden right beneath where this man slept every night, in a tiny cotton shop in a county so small it barely appeared on maps. My hands were practically trembling with anticipation. Come on, come on. Show Daddy what you've got. Pried up that stone slab and found a wooden chest that was basically a spy starter kit from the 1940s. 1 high-powered radio transmitter. 1 code book. A full set of black leather clothes with matching gloves and hat. Very secret agent at midnight, chic. A Browning M1910 pistol, same model from that famous Chinese war drama. The assassin's gun. Compact, low recoil, beautiful craftsmanship. 2 magazines, 14 rounds total. Can't exactly buy 9mm ammo at the local supply store, so every bullet was precious. Then the real prize, 3 small gold bars. Little yellow fish, they called them in the old days. About 100 grams total. In future money, worth a small fortune. This guy spent 30 years fluffing cotton and secretly stacking gold like a dragon sitting on a hoard. And finally, a stack of blank military commission papers. Pre-signed, pre-stamped, just missing a name. All ranked, Major. The losing side was apparently handing out military ranks like Halloween candy toward the end. Here's your major commission, and your major commission, everybody gets to be a major. No wonder they lost the war. Most people would look at those blank papers and see garbage. I looked at them and saw the most beautiful frame job in Chinese espionage history. Here's the thing about Zhang Daohai. I could just bonk him with a hoe, toss him in my farm, and call it a Tuesday. That's the easy play. But easy doesn't solve my problem. Even if Zhang disappears, Wang Wenhua's parents in Beijing are still powerful, still connected, and still eventually going to send someone else to investigate their missing son. I needed to burn the whole tree, not just chop one branch. My plan was psychotically elegant. Frame Zhang Daohai as the spy, make it look like he killed himself out of guilt, and plant just enough breadcrumbs pointing toward Wang Wenhua's parents to let their political enemies do the rest. I wouldn't need to touch them personally. Just hand the wolves a piece of raw meat and let nature take its course. Changed into the dead spy's black leather outfit. Felt like a movie villain. Looked like a movie villain. Might as well act like a movie villain. Set up a timed fire in the cotton shop using an oil lamp and a cotton string. When the string burns through, the lamp falls, hits the cotton scraps covering the floor, and whoosh. Evidence destroyed. Alibi created. Perfect arson on a timer. Slipped out into the night and headed straight for Zhang Daohai's office. The man lived at his government workplace during the week because his wife was in another city with their kid. Climbed the compound wall with one jump. My body stats were getting ridiculous at this point. Then scaled up to his second-floor balcony like Spider-Man in a leather jacket. Peeked through the window. Zhang Daohai was sleeping on a military cot in his office, snoring loud enough to rattle the glass. This man threw me in jail for a week, starved me, sent thugs after me, and now he's sleeping like a baby while I'm standing 3 feet away in full assassin cosplay. Life is funny sometimes. Jimmied the window open, stepped inside, pressed my hand on his shoulder, and whispered the magic words. System. Absorb him. The rules said I can only store dead, unconscious, or completely helpless creatures. Deeply asleep counts as unconscious. He vanished into my dimension without even waking up. Inside the farm, I had a choice. Decompose him for stats, or read his memories first. The system warned me. Memory extraction fries the brain completely. He becomes a vegetable afterward. No stat bonuses, no skill absorption, just a useless husk. Do it. Golden light poured out of every hole in his face. His body convulsed. His memories flooded into my brain like a fire hose of information. Everything. His contacts. His handwriting. His secrets. His old name before he changed it, Zhang Shower, which he thought sounded too hillbilly for a government official. His relationship with Wang Wenhua's parents. His daily routines. His fears. Stepped back into reality and sat down at his desk with his own pen and paper. Started writing a confession letter in his exact handwriting. The letter explained that Zhang Daohai was actually a deep-cover spy who'd been hiding inside the government for decades, and that the crushing guilt had finally driven him to end his own life. Then I forged several correspondence letters between him and a mysterious superior codenamed Deep Sea, described vaguely enough to sound like someone hiding in a very powerful position in Beijing. I never wrote Wang Wenhua's parents' names directly. Just enough hints. Just enough smoke for people to start looking in the right direction. Why so subtle? Because I didn't need to prove anything. I just needed to hand ammunition to people who already hated the Wang family. That rich brat had assaulted women all over Beijing before getting shipped here. His family buried those cases with power and money. The victims' families were just waiting for an opening. My forged letters were that opening. A knife, placed gently on the table, pointed in the right direction. The angry mob would pick it up themselves. Took the brain-dead Zhang Daohai out of my dimension, looped a rope around his neck, and hung him from his office door frame. Arranged the spy's radio transmitter and a blank commission paper, filled in with Zhang Shower, his birth name, right where investigators would find them. Suicide note, check. Spy equipment, check. Fake identity documents, check. Confession letter linking him to mysterious superiors, check. Every piece of evidence pointed at a guilty man who couldn't take the pressure anymore. Nobody would investigate further. Nobody would care about some missing rich kid when there was a real spy scandal to feast on. And Wang Wenhua's parents would suddenly find themselves under a microscope, with every enemy they'd ever made sharpening their knives. 1 week ago, this man put me behind bars. Tonight, I put him in a noose. Stepped out onto the balcony, looked across town, and saw orange flames climbing into the sky. The cotton shop was burning right on schedule. The spy's real hideout, destroyed. The only evidence left was the fake evidence I'd planted here. Fire! Fire! Someone call for help. Voices echoed across the sleeping town. People scrambled. Chaos spread. I stripped off the black leather outfit, melted into the darkness, and smiled. The fire was lit. Now I just needed to wait for the wind. Woke up the next morning to the sweet sound of chaos. The whole county was buzzing about two things: a cotton shop that mysteriously burned down overnight, and a government official who apparently hanged himself in his office after being exposed as a secret spy. Wild coincidence, right? What are the odds? The townspeople were mourning old Ma the cotton guy. Such a nice man. So careless with fire. One dude was complaining that his freshly fluffed cotton burned up, and now he'd freeze this winter. Someone else told him to shut up because at least he was still alive. Unlike poor Ma who burned to ashes. Yeah, buddy, he burned to ashes all right. Just not the way you think. Meanwhile, over at the county government building, absolute pandemonium. Officers were grabbing employees left and right for interrogation. Everyone thought a new political purge was happening. Nope, just the aftershock of my little art project from last night. The news hit like a bomb. Zhang Daohai, beloved longtime county official, was found hanging from his office door frame with a confession letter, a military radio transmitter, a codebook, and an enemy commission paper right there on his desk. Decades of loyal service? All a cover. Dude was apparently a deep cover spy the whole time. People were shook. Some refused to believe it. Others were already rewriting history. I always thought something was off about that guy. Classic. Everyone's a detective after the mystery is solved. The investigation team was a classic buddy cop duo. Old Gua, the veteran detective, 50-something, seen everything, trusts nothing. And little Xiao, the fresh-out-of-school rookie, 20-something, eager as a puppy chasing its first tennis ball. Old Gua studied my forged confession letter against Zhang's real documents. Compared every stroke, every curve, every little handwriting quirk. My hours of practice in the farm dimension paid off because he looked up and declared with total confidence, "This is definitely Zhang Daohai's handwriting. The strokes, the pressure, the habits, it all matches perfectly. This is not a forgery. Music to my invisible ears." Little Xiao spotted the commission paper. "Wait, this says Zhang Shower, not Zhang Daohai. Wrong name?" They called in some old-timers from the office. One gray-haired guy slapped his forehead. Zhang Shower. That was his name before liberation. He changed it because he thought it sounded too country. Only us old folks remember. Little Xiao was scribbling notes so fast her pen was smoking. It all fits. A spy would use his real birth name on secret documents. This detail actually makes it more believable. She was practically vibrating with excitement. "Master, we just cracked a huge case." But Old Gul wasn't smiling. He was reading my fake correspondence letters. The ones hinting at a mysterious superior code named Deep Sea, hiding in the heart of the motherland. Cracked a case? Kid, this thing is about to blow the roof off. The heart of the motherland meant Beijing. Everyone knew it. A spy ring reaching into the capital? This wasn't a county-level investigation anymore. This was national security territory. They sent telegrams to Beijing. Responses came back fast. Someone up there was taking this very seriously. They pulled Zhang Daohai's communication records and found the telegram he'd sent just before dying. The one asking about Wang Wenhua's whereabouts. The 6-word reply from Beijing. "Wenhua has not returned to capital." Little Xiao stared at those words like they contained the meaning of life. "Master, who is Wenhua? Is that another spy's code name? He hasn't returned to Beijing. Was he sent there on a mission? An assassination attempt? I have to be honest, even I didn't see that coming. I planted that telegram trail just to loosely connect Zhang to Wang Wenhua's parents. But this rookie detective took it and sprinted into conspiracy theory territory at full speed. She turned a missing rich kid into a potential political assassin. My frame job was working better than I designed it to. The beautiful irony, Wenhua wasn't a spy code name. Wang Wenhua was just a spoiled brat I'd composted a month ago. He wasn't in Beijing because he was in my farm dimension, converted into about 2 acres of premium topsoil. But sure, little Xiao, go ahead and hunt for the phantom assassin. I fully support your career development. Old Gua, being the seasoned veteran he was, read those letters one more time and then did something very smart. He shut the whole thing down. Stop investigating. This is above our pay grade now. But master, this is the biggest lead we've. I said stop. He stubbed out his cigarette and stared out the window with the tired eyes of a man who'd learned the hard way that some doors shouldn't be opened. This case has already gone to Beijing. Whatever happens next involves people with more power than you and I will ever have in our entire lives. People who can fall from the sky and still crush us on the way down. Let the capital's people deal with the capital's problems. Smart man. The smartest person in this entire story besides me, honestly. He understood that my planted evidence wasn't just going to catch one fake spy. It was going to trigger a political avalanche. Wang Wenhua's parents had enemies. Lots of enemies. Families of girls their son had ruined. Political rivals who'd been waiting for ammunition. The moment those forged letters landed on desks in Beijing, every grudge holder in the capital would sharpen their knives. I didn't need to do anything else. The dominoes were falling on their own. Zhang Daohai was dead and framed. The spy story was airtight. The trail led to Beijing, and the Wang family's carefully maintained fortress of power was about to get besieged by everyone they'd ever wronged. All because one government official thought it would be a good idea to throw me in jail for a week. 7 days of bamboo fence detention. That's what started this. He could have just let me go and lived a perfectly normal life. Instead, he chose violence, and I chose architecture. I designed his entire downfall in one night using a dead spy's equipment, a forged letter, and a rope. The fire was burning. The wind had arrived, and I was already walking home through the dark forest, whistling a happy tune, thinking about what to have for breakfast. Made it back to camp before dawn, crawled into bed, and immediately got to work establishing my alibi. By establishing my alibi, I mean I spent the entire morning in bed with both ladies making sure nobody could question where I was during the night's exciting events across town. Comfortable? I asked, feeling like a king on his heated throne. While 2 detectives across the county were losing their minds over a dead spy and a hanging government official, I was in my cozy cabin creating the most airtight alibi in criminal history. Your Honor, I couldn't possibly have been at the crime scene. I had 2 witnesses who can confirm my exact location. All night. Multiple times. Both girls were completely wrecked by mid-morning, walking like they'd just completed a triathlon they never signed up for. They kept insisting they needed to go back before the other girls got suspicious. 2 women not returning to their beds all night tends to generate the kind of gossip that travels faster than telegraph. Before they left, I pulled out 2 brand new cotton winter coats like a magician producing rabbits from a hat. The spy's cotton shop may have burned down, but the clothes he'd already finished for me were safe in my inventory. Say what you want about Michiba Masao, the secret agent. The man could fluff cotton. These coats were perfect. Thick, warm, beautifully stitched. Both girls lit up like it was Christmas morning. Suwon especially. Her parents were doing forced labor in the desert. Nobody was sending her winter clothes. She'd been wearing a jacket that was more patches than fabric. And my queen's coat wasn't much better. Try them on. Let me see if they fit. They both turned red because they knew, try them on, in Lin Mo language meant, take your current clothes off in front of me. But they did it anyway because at this point, modesty was a ship that had sailed, sunk, and been converted into an artificial reef. Suwon emerged from her new coat, looking like a completely different person. Weeks of actual nutrition had filled her face back out, put color in her cheeks, and restored her figure. She went from malnourished scarecrow to delicate southern flower in record time. A solid 7.5 out of 10 and climbing. My queen, though, in a bright red cotton coat, 10 out of 10. No discussion, no debate. Every angle, every lighting condition, flawless. Future TV star energy radiating from every pore. The kind of beauty that would make cameras fall in love with her a decade from now. You know what? Maybe you two should stay another afternoon. Their faces went white with terror. They'd come in thinking that 2-on-1 would somehow dilute the experience. Safety in numbers, right? Wrong. Turns out my system-enhanced body doesn't get tired. It gets stronger. Every organic matter I absorb permanently boosts my physical stats. My body at this point was operating at nearly double normal human capacity, plus deer blood buff, plus spirit spring water recovery. Fighting me was like bringing a water pistol to a tsunami. No, we have to go. We have work. They fled in their new coats like beautiful refugees. Suwon turned at the gate with genuine concern in her eyes. Please rest. You'll hurt yourself. And we need at least 2 days off. Watch them disappear. Smiled. No rush. We're a family now. 3 people, 1 cabin, plenty of winter ahead. Got bored within 20 minutes. Grabbed my shotgun and headed up to Turtle Ditch to check my trap line. The autumn forest was gorgeous, sunlight filtering through the canopy in golden beams, that whole magical forest photography effect. Then my hunter's eye caught something that made my pulse spike. One of my traps was gone. Not sprung and empty, completely missing. The tree I'd chained it to? Snapped in half. A tree thick as a dinner bowl, ripped apart like a toothpick. Deep claw marks gouged into what remained. A massive crater in the dirt where something enormous had thrashed and fought, and eventually torn free through sheer brute force. What kind of animal breaks a tree to escape a steel trap? I crouched down, found tufts of fur caught in the broken bark. Brown-yellow, coarse, thick, bear fur, brown bear fur. My brain immediately connected the dots. That monster bear from the neighboring county, the 1,000-pound nightmare that wrecked cornfields and dodged 2 organized hunting parties, had wandered into MY territory while I was in jail. And it stepped right into one of my traps. It got away, ripped the whole trap off the tree, and dragged it into the forest. But it was injured now, wounded, angry, somewhere in these woods with a steel trap still clamped on its leg. A 1,000-pound brown bear. The stat boost from that would be astronomical. The deer gave me 1 agility point and a 2-week bedroom buff. A bear that size, I might unlock the ability to fly. My blood started pumping. Every cell in my enhanced body screamed one word: hunt. Grabbed my shotgun tight, followed the trail of broken branches and claw marks into the deep forest, and started tracking the biggest prey of my entire new life. First hunt, spotted deer. Gentle, graceful, practically posed for the camera. Second hunt, a 1,000-pound brown bear. The difficulty curve in my new life isn't a curve, it's a vertical cliff. Let me explain something about bears in northeast China. Black bears, blind bears, as locals call them, are the small, shy ones. 300 pounds max, run away when they see humans. Basically big raccoons with self-esteem issues. Then there's the brown bear. The human bear. Called that because these nightmare creatures sometimes stand at the edge of dark forests and wave at people, mimicking human gestures. You walk over thinking it's a person, and suddenly you're face to face with a 2,000-pound predator that runs 40 miles per hour. Nature's cruelest prank. Followed the blood trail for hours. Bear was dragging my steel trap through the forest like a bracelet it didn't want. Blood still wet, maybe an hour or 2 old. My heart was pounding with pure greed. A bear this size would give me stats that would make me superhuman. Then the sun dropped and the forest went completely black. Couldn't see 3 feet ahead. Common sense screamed at me to stop. If I got lost, that's annoying. If the bear circled around and ambushed me in the dark, I'd be the most ironic delivery service in history. Free-range human, self-delivered. Then I heard it. Low growling and whimpering from ahead. Climbed a big elm tree and spotted the monster by a creek, licking its trapped paw. Blood-matted fur, steel teeth embedded in its flesh, but otherwise looking like a furry boulder made of pure muscle and stored fat. 1,000 pounds easy. Enough meat to feed a small village. Lined up my shot from the tree. Both barrels. Bang bang. 1 hit. 1 miss. The bullet grazed its shoulder instead of hitting the chest. Not the result I wanted. The bear roared, a sound that vibrated my internal organs, and bolted into the dense forest. Is this thing sentient? Total darkness now. Couldn't track blood I couldn't see. Ducked into my farm dimension, grabbed cotton from the dead spy's supplies, soaked it in cooking oil, wrapped it around a stick. Boom, medieval torch. MacGyver would be proud. Back in reality, followed the blood trail by flickering torchlight for another couple miles. Then the blood on the ground just stopped. Crouched down. Brought the torch close. No blood on the ground. But on the tree trunk, a smear of red going up. Every hair on my body stood straight up at the same time. This 1,000-pound monster had climbed a tree. was sitting directly above me, waiting, like a giant furry spider with anger management issues. The thing had set a trap for me. It stopped leaving a ground trail, went vertical, and waited for the idiot with the torch to stand right underneath. Hunter became the hunted, a bear using ambush tactics. Absolutely terrifying. Absolutely genius. I yanked my gun up purely on survival instinct. Same instant, a mountain of fur and fury launched itself from the branches above. Time slowed down the way it does in movies. 1,000 pounds of brown bear falling through the air like a furry meteor. My shotgun pointing straight up into its descending face. Bang! Bang! Both slugs hit the skull. The bear's head essentially stopped existing. Red and white everywhere, on my face, in my hair, down my shirt. But physics doesn't care about bullets. 1,000 pounds of dead bear still falls at the same speed as 1,000 pounds of living bear. It landed on me like someone dropped a car. I was pinned, flat on my back in a pile of dead leaves with a headless bear carcass on top of me. Couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Blood and bear drool soaking through my clothes. The smell was so bad my nose wanted to file for divorce from my face. System, get me in the farm. Decompose this thing. Now, reality shifted. The bear dissolved into golden particles. And then the system went absolutely bananas. Farm expanded by 5 acres. Strength plus 5. More than double what I got from all my previous recycling combined. And a brand new permanent buff, bear's might. Muscle mass increased by 50%. Permanently. Not 14 days like the deer blood. Forever. My entire body started vibrating. Muscles swelling, bones crackling, heat flooding every limb. I went from very fit young man to could arm wrestle a tractor in about 10 seconds. The deer blood gave me bedroom superpowers for 2 weeks. The bear gave me Hulk-level strength for life. Not even close to the same league. But wait, there's more. Farm hit the 10-acre milestone, which unlocked 2 bonus rewards. Time speed upgrade from 3x to 5x, meaning my crops would grow nearly twice as fast. And a free house inside the farm dimension. Not a shack, not a shed. A full traditional Chinese courtyard home. Blue bricks, dark tiles, curved roofing, 200 square meters. The system literally built me a mansion in my pocket dimension. Pushed open the courtyard gate and walked into my new interdimensional vacation home, covered head to toe in bear blood, grinning like an absolute maniac. 3 weeks ago, I was a middle-aged man watching his father die in a hospital bed. Now I owned a magic farm, a secret apartment, a courtyard mansion. In another dimension, a healing spring, a pistol, a shotgun, a pet deer, a flock of chickens, gold bars, and the permanent muscle density of a brown bear. Oh, and 2 girlfriends who were currently limping home begging for at least 2 days off. Life is good. Stepped into my new farm dimension house, and my jaw literally dropped. The system didn't just build me a house, it built me a lifestyle. Traditional Chinese courtyard, blue bricks, elegant curved roof, looking like something a wealthy merchant would retire to in ancient times. Inside, modern as heck. Living room with cushions and a tea table. On the walls, the art photos I'd taken of my queen and Suwan automatically hung up like the system was my interior decorator. Bedroom with a wooden bed wide enough to sleep 5 or 6 people. The system clearly knew my future plans better than I did. But the kitchen, gas stove, all my oils and spices organized, pots and pans ready to go. No more choking on wood smoke from a dirt stove. I could stir fry in my pocket dimension like a professional chef. The wine cabinet had my inherited premium liquor and Li Ping's sweet grape wine all lined up beautifully. The snack shelf held chocolate, butter cookies, and powdered milk. The meat fridge kept all my leftover rabbit, deer, and roe venison perfectly preserved. My pet deer was standing at the courtyard gate looking absolutely confused. Its tiny brain could not process why a full mansion had materialized in what used to be an empty field. Welcome to my world, little buddy. Nothing makes sense here, and everything is wonderful. Ate some food, took a nap in my new king-size bed, and woke up feeling like $1,000,000. Stepped out of the dimension to find dawn breaking over the forest. Morning fog drifting through the trees like rivers of white smoke. Old people call it poison air. I call it condensation. Either way, it looked magical. Waited for the sun to burn off the fog, then started walking home. Walked for a full hour, then stopped dead in my tracks. My own footprints. Right there in the leaves ahead of me. I'd been walking in circles. Are you kidding me? Ghost wall? In my excitement chasing that bear, I'd run dozens of miles deep into completely untouched wilderness. No trails, no markers, no signs of civilization whatsoever. The forest was so quiet it felt like the planet had been evacuated and nobody told me. Survival rule number 1. Find flowing water. Streams lead to rivers, rivers lead to people. Found a creek and started following it downstream. After 10-something miles, the creek widened into a small river, rounded a bend, and saw smoke rising from the other bank. Civilization, or at least something with fire, pushed through the last bushes and stopped. Because what I found was not what I expected. Dozens of reindeer grazing on a meadow. Tents made of birch bark. People wearing animal skins and hats made from deer antlers. Reindeer, antler hats, birch bark tents. I'd stumbled into an Oricon tribal camp. These people are the legendary forest dwellers of northeast China. They follow reindeer herds through the mountains, worship nature spirits, and have lived in these forests for thousands of years. I hadn't just gotten lost. I'd gotten lost so thoroughly that I'd time-traveled into a different civilization. Waved my arms from across the river. Hello? Anyone there? They sent a birch bark canoe. 2 people paddled over. A barrel-chested guy with the open, sharp eyes of a mountain man, and a woman who made me do a double take. Sharp nose like a knife blade, full lips, golden brown skin from a lifetime outdoors, huge bright eyes under a deer antler hat. She was staring at me with pure curiosity, like I was the most interesting thing she'd encountered this month. Which, in the middle of nowhere, I probably was. Hey friend, I'm Mori Jin of the reindeer tribe. Then he noticed the massive bloodstain covering my entire jacket. His hand drifted toward the gun at his side. Friend, what happened to you? Told him the whole bear story, tracking it through the night, the ambush from the treetop, shooting it in midair, getting crushed under its corpse. Pulled out the tuft of brown bear fur I'd kept as proof. Morrigan examined it, then burst out laughing like I'd told the funniest joke in history. You crazy bastard. You hunted a brown bear? Alone? You have the heart of a hero. All suspicion evaporated. In their culture, a man who hunts bears solo isn't a stranger, he's a legend. He practically dragged me into his canoe. The camp embraced me like a long-lost brother. Women and children crowded around gawking. Morrigan ran to the biggest tent to show the elder, an ancient grandmother with silver braids, my bear fur. She studied it, studied me from across the camp, then pulled the pretty girl close and whispered something in her ear. The girl's face turned bright red. She punched the old woman's arm, covered her mouth, and ran out of the tent. What did Grandma say? I asked Morrigan. He laughed. Nothing. She just told us to treat you well. Uh-huh. Sure. The grandmother whispers to the prettiest girl in camp. The girl blushes and runs away, and it was nothing. I've absorbed enough memories from enough people to know exactly what Grandma said. But I played dumb. They fed me venison and homemade pine nut wine. I tried to leave. My girls back at camp were probably losing their minds. But Morrigan shut that down immediately. Letting a guest leave hungry is a disgrace to the Oricon people. You eat, you drink, you sleep. Tomorrow morning, I'll personally boat you downstream to the nearest Chinese village. Their hospitality was aggressive in the most wonderful way. Half of them could barely speak Chinese, but they communicated through pure warmth and unlimited alcohol. Challenge accepted. I sat down by the fire and started drinking with every man in the tribe. Thanks to my system-enhanced body, alcohol hit me like water hits a duck. By nightfall, I'd outdrunk every single hunter in the camp. Bodies scattered around the fire like fallen soldiers. I was the last man standing. I also wasn't just freeloading. Pulled out candy from my inventory for the kids. They went insane, running to their tents, screaming with joy. Then I dropped a bottle of premium liquor and a bottle of sweet grape wine on the table. Morrigan's eyes nearly fell out of his head. These people drank homemade pine nut hooch their whole lives. A bottle of top-shelf spirits was like handing them liquid gold. Then, during a bathroom break outside, I pulled those 2 captured homemade guns from my inventory. The ones I'd taken off the border hunters I recycled weeks ago. Useless to me. To these forest people who hunt with handmade weapons? Those janky firearms were priceless. A whole winter's worth of extra game. Morrigan bear hugged me so hard I thought he'd crack my enhanced ribs. Linemo. You are my brother. These guns, you have no idea what this means to us. And I must give you a great gift in return. A gift? These people lived in birch bark tents and wore deer skin. What could they possibly give me? A baby reindeer? Before I could think about it too hard, the beautiful girl, Ujina, Morigen's 18-year-old sister, whose name means the noonday sun, helped my drunk self into a tent, and I collapsed face first onto a reindeer skin sleeping bag. Half conscious, room spinning, pine nut wine and premium liquor doing their work. Then something warm crawled into the sleeping bag next to me. Something very warm. Something that was definitely not a reindeer. My eyes flew open. Wait. Is this the gift? Woke up with the worst hangover of 2 lifetimes. That pine nut wine tasted like juice going down, but hit like a freight train the next morning. Reached up to rub my pounding head, and my hand landed on something warm and soft. Looked down. Well, hello there. Wajina was curled up against my chest inside the reindeer's sleeping bag. Tear tracks dried on her cheeks, looking peaceful as a sleeping fawn. Morning light filtered through the tent seams and landed on her face like nature's own spotlight. Wild and beautiful and very, very naked. Last night's memories came flooding back in fragments. The drinking, the tent, the gift, Morigen's big grin, Grandma Shaman's whisper. Oh. Morigen wasn't kidding about a great gift. He literally gave me his sister. In their culture, this is called guest marriage, an ancient tradition where nomadic tribes share outside visitors with their women to bring fresh genetics into the bloodline. The grandmother saw a young man who hunted brown bears alone and thought, that's the DNA we need in this family tree. I accidentally became a breeding program candidate by being lost in the woods. She woke up, looked me dead in the eyes without a shred of shyness, ran her hand across my chest, and said in the most matter-of-fact tone possible, "You're so strong. So much power." Then she switched to her native language, said something I didn't understand, kissed my neck, and added, "With you, I could make the strongest children. You know what? After weeks of dealing with blushing queens and calculating rich girls and snitch management, this directness was refreshing. No games. No politics. No blackmail photos needed. Just pure, honest. I like your muscles and want your genetics, energy. City girls, 3 dates, complicated feelings, strategic maneuvering. Forest girls, you killed bear. You strong. We make babies now, efficiency. I respect it. Since we'd already done everything there was to do last night, just couldn't remember the details clearly through the pine nut wine fog. I figured we might as well have a proper encore in daylight. Need to see what I'm working with here. Call it quality control. Marched forth into battle. Charged the enemy stronghold. Left no stone unturned. Emerged from the tent around noon, holding Wajina's hand. Morigen was waiting by the river, grinning like a proud matchmaker. Not a single ounce of awkwardness about the fact that his buddy had just spent the night with his little sister. He looked thrilled. In fact, the whole camp seemed pleased, like they'd collectively accomplished something important. Let's go, brother. I'll take you home. The birch bark canoe ride downstream was peaceful. Wajina pressed herself against me, soaking up every last second. When the first village smokestacks appeared on the horizon, she knew it was almost over. She grabbed me and kissed me like she was trying to memorize my entire face with her lips. It felt like goodbye forever. Something in my chest tightened. Weird. I've been composting humans and blackmailing women for weeks without flinching. But this girl making sad eyes at me from a canoe? That got through my armor. Come with me. I'll show you the outside world. She shook her head, eyes shining with tears. I'm a daughter of the mountains. I belong to this forest. If I leave, I'll die. Dramatic? Maybe. But looking at her, deer antler hat, animal skin clothes, brown skin from a life lived entirely under open sky, I believed her. This girl was as much a part of these woods as the trees themselves. Then how do I find you again? She told me about their winter camp. Follow this river north to a sheltered south-facing slope. That's their ancestral wintering ground. Then she frowned. Actually, don't come. Winter travel through the mountains will kill you. Wait for spring. I'll come find you. Woman, you are talking to a man who just killed a 1,000-pound bear with a shotgun while it was falling on his head. I have a magic farm dimension, superhuman strength, healing spring water, and the muscle density of the bear I just ate. I think I can handle a winter hike. I'll come find you after the first snow. And I'm bringing gifts. She put her hand over my mouth. I don't want gifts. I want you alive. Then she took a wolf-fang necklace off her own neck and hung it around mine. Tears streaming. Please don't forget me. Promise you'll come back in spring. The canoe hit shore. One last hug. I walked toward the village without looking back because I knew if I turned around, I'd see her crying on the boat and I might do something stupid like jump back in. Found out from the village chief that my bear chase had carried me 60-something miles into a completely different county. The man stared at the blood on my jacket and nearly had a heart attack. You young people are insane. Chasing a brown bear alone. You're lucky to be breathing. He gave me a ride to the county train station. Took the train to the familiar town. Normally I'd stop at the supply store to visit Li Ping, but I'd been gone for 2 days. My queen and Suwon were probably organizing search parties. Sprinted back to camp as fast as my bear-powered legs could carry me. As I got close, I could see 2 figures standing outside the compound in the fading light. One tall, one tiny, staring into the distance. Waiting, like 2 lighthouse keepers watching for a ship that might never come home. My heart did something it hadn't done since I was reborn. It actually hurt. Not from injury. From emotion. These 2 women had been standing out there in the cold, watching the road, for God knows how long. Walked up and wrapped both of them in my arms at once. I'm home. My queen broke first. Where have you been? Do you know how worried? And then she was just sobbing into my chest. Suwon was shaking so hard she could barely stand. I thought you were dead. 2 days. 2 whole days. Held them tighter. Apologized. Told them I got lost chasing a bear in the mountains. Kept it vague. No mention of tribal camps, pine nut wine, sleeping bags, or wolf-fang necklaces currently hidden under my collar. Some information is best shared never. Calmed them both down. Wiped their tears. Told them they'd stop being pretty if they kept crying. Classic deflection. Eventually they each grabbed an arm and walked me inside. 2 days apart. 2 days of worry. 2 days of pent-up energy on all sides. There was only one appropriate reunion activity. Free-player card game. Dealer takes all. Next morning, sleeping like a dead man after the reunion triple-header, when I heard splashing outside. Dragged myself to the door and found Suwon crouched by the well, scrubbing my blood-soaked cotton jacket like a dedicated housewife. This brand new coat. You've had it for 3 days, and it looks like you murdered someone in it. Technically accurate, but she didn't need to know that. Just throw it away. I'll make a new one. She spun around like I'd suggested burning money. You think you're some rich boy? You can't just throw away a perfectly good. I have enough spare cotton to build a mattress. Relax. Thanks to my midnight raid on the Dead Spy's cotton shop, I had more cotton than a plantation. Wrapped my arms around her waist from behind. How about you make me a new set? You southern girls all know how to sew, right? She squirmed because my breath was tickling her ear. Let Gio. Someone might see. Good. Then you and your big sister can both move in with me. Your cabin has 10 people crammed onto 2 beds like sardines. My place has a king-size platform all to myself. She actually considered it for a second, then shook her head. I need Julin's permission. She's the first wife. Household decisions go through her. I'm sorry, first wife? This girl just casually dropped feudal family hierarchy terminology like she was reading from a textbook. Turns out her dad had 3 concubines before the revolution. Officially, divorced, then when the new government demanded it, but they all kept living in the same house. Divorce on paper, harem in practice. Her old man was a legend. No wonder Suwon adapted to her role so quickly. She literally grew up watching this exact arrangement. Being the second wasn't degrading to her. It was just Tuesday in the family she came from. All right, I kissed her cheek. Tonight I'll get your big sister to come over too. Everyone sews. Everyone stays. Borrowed the bike, pedaled to the supply store town. Li Ping spotted me the second I walked through the door and practically floated over. Linimo, what brings you today? I held up the camera. Remember how you kept asking me to take you out for photos? Today's the day. Her face lit up like sunrise. This girl had been waiting for this invitation for weeks. She changed into a red turtleneck, pinned her hair back, and looked genuinely adorable. Not the devastating beauty of my queen, not the exotic allure of Suwon or the wild magnetism of Vagina. Li Ping was something different. She was the girl next door, the sweet one, the uncomplicated one, the one who makes you feel like you're 17 again, and the world isn't a battlefield full of spies and bears and blackmail. In modern terms, she had first love face, pure, fresh, The kind of girl who makes you forget you've been composting people into farmland for the past month. Took her to a white birch forest. Autumn leaves falling like golden rain. Sunlight streaming through the canopy. She stood under a tree and I started clicking. The photos came out stunning. Her in that red sweater against gold and white birch bark, sunbeams on her face, looking like a movie poster. Old Zhao at the photo shop developed them on the spot and nearly fell off his chair. Lin Mo, you made her look like a film star. Li Ping saw the prints and completely lost her composure. So excited she threw her arms around me right there in the shop, then realized what she'd done, jumped back, turned red from neck to hairline, and stared at the floor. Old Zhao pretended to be busy. I pretended I didn't notice. Everybody was pretending. Then she mentioned something that changed my entire wardrobe game. She pulled out a bolt of khaki fabric from behind the supply counter. This khaki cloth is indestructible. Thorns can't rip it. Rocks can't scratch it. I saw officers in Beijing make hunting jackets from this stuff. Khaki. Professional-grade hunting fabric. In a tiny northeast Chinese town. Every hunter around here went into the mountains wearing raggedy cotton coats that got shredded by branches within hours. But khaki? Waterproof, windproof, tough as armor, and the color blends perfectly with the forest. British aristocrats have been using this stuff for safari gear since World War I. Bought 7 feet of it immediately. Enough for a full outfit. Between my stolen fortune, the dead spy's 30 years of savings, and 3 gold bars sitting in my interdimensional vault, I had over 1,000 yuan in cash and 200 pounds of grain tickets. I was literally the richest person in the entire district, and nobody had a clue. Restocked candy, gave all mine to the tribal kids, tobacco, and cheap wine for bribing purposes. Then offered to walk Li Ping home since it was getting dark. Side by side on the dirt road. Crickets chirping, stars coming out. That electric silence where both people know something is about to happen, but nobody wants to move first. We reached her dormitory gate. I grabbed her wrist, pulled her gently toward me. She didn't resist. Didn't even have time to process what was happening before my lips were on hers. MMPH, wide eyes, frozen body. Then, slowly, her eyes closed and she melted. Listen, my queen is a 10. Suwan is a schemer I tamed. Regina was a force of nature. But Li Ping? Li Ping was easy mode. This girl had been crushing on me since the first time I showed up at her counter and lied about remembering her. Every deer leg gift, every photo trip, every casual visit. She'd been falling deeper and deeper while I was busy building an empire. Kissing her felt less like a conquest and more like gravity. It was always going to happen. I just had to show up. Current status update. Queen secured, servant trained, forest bride acquired, supply stored girlfriend unlocked. For women, 0 suspicion from any of them about the others, and a wardrobe upgrade in progress. Dad, you spent your whole youth fumbling every opportunity. Your son is collecting them like stamps. Kissed Li Ping, said, good night, and walked away into the darkness like a movie hero after the credits roll. Didn't explain. Didn't ask permission. Didn't have a, what are we conversation. Just lips, good night, gone. Behind me, I could practically hear her knees buckling. Why did he kiss me? She whispered to nobody, touching her lips, legs wobbling like jelly. Here's the thing about Li Ping. She's never dated anyone. Never been kissed. Never even held hands. She's an unranked player who hasn't completed her placement matches yet. And me? I'm a 2-lifetime veteran operating at the highest tier of romantic warfare. Taking on Li Ping was like a chess grandmaster playing against someone who just learned how the horsey moves. Not even fair. Almost felt bad about it. Almost. Got home. Tossed the khaki fabric on the table. My 2 resident seamstresses immediately materialized like moths to a flame, running their fingers over the material with wide eyes. How did you even get this? Suwan was practically drooling on it. $20 for 7 feet. Probably the only bolt in the entire county. Then I sat down and started drawing something that blew both their minds. A custom hunting jacket design pulled straight from my future life memory of tactical military gear. Not just a coat. A system. This row across the chest. Bullet loops. Grab and reload in half the time. These hooks on the belt line. Knife holster. Canteen clip. Won't dig into your back when you bend. This pocket in the center. Compass holder. One glance down and you know which direction you're heading. Paused for dramatic effect. If I'd had a compass last week, I wouldn't have spent an entire night lost in the forest chasing a bear. Both girls stared at the blueprint like I'd just invented electricity. Lin, your brain. How does it even work like this? This design is better than military uniforms. Yeah, no kidding. I literally reverse-engineered concepts that won't exist for another 50 years. The modern tactical vest owes half its DNA to professional hunting gear. I just brought the grandchild back in time to meet the grandparent. 5 decades ahead of schedule. My queen, being the detail-oriented genius she is, flipped the fabric over and frowned. Khaki is great on the outside, but it'll be rough against skin. We need a soft lining. She was right. Modern versions use synthetic nylon. But finding synthetic fabric in 1975 rural China? Easier to find a unicorn. Good thing I had something better. Made a big show of searching through the cabinet while secretly pulling 2 perfectly tanned deer hides from my inventory. Soft as butter, warm as a hug, courtesy of my interdimensional leather workshop. Forget nylon. Natural deer skin beats anything synthetic. Khaki outside for wind protection, deer leather inside for warmth. Add a fur hat, and I'll be the best-equipped hunter in the entire region. My queen's eyes sparkled. She grabbed the measuring tape. Hold still. Let me get your sizes. She crouched down, wrapping the tape around my shoulders, across my chest, down my torso, and I grabbed her. Pulled her, measuring tape and all, straight into my lap. Stop playing. Let me measure you properly. Measure later. We have more important business. What business? The most important business in the world, making babies. MMPH. The hunting jacket could wait. Some things take priority. Next morning, still in bed. Warm. Happy. Reaching over for company, and empty. Blankets still warm, but body's gone. Those 2 escape artists had slipped out while I was sleeping and snuck back to the girls' cabin like trained ninjas. Completely silent. 0 evidence. They couldn't coordinate a dinner order, but their retreat game was flawless. Special Forces level extraction. Bang 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 on my door. Lin, open up, stumbled to the door in my underwear. All 10 female workers standing outside, shivering, hugging themselves, stamping their feet against the cold. Our heating broke. The bed stove went cold at midnight. We almost froze to death. I looked past the crowd at my queen and Su Wan, standing in the back, trying to look innocent. You two had a perfectly warm bed right here, with me. Instead, you snuck back to a broken stove and nearly became popsicles. Brilliant decision-making, ladies. Really top-notch survival instincts. Walked over to the girls' cabin to inspect the damage. One look and I understood everything. This building had been continuously occupied since 1968. 7 years of workers rotating through, and not once had anyone cleaned the heating system. The smoke channels were packed solid with ash and grease. The chimney had a crack wide enough to fit my entire hand through. All the heat was escaping through the gap, like money through a hole in your pocket. Yeah, this place needs a complete overhaul. Translation: the building that housed 10 women I had various levels of romantic interest in was falling apart, and the only person who could fix it was me. Which meant 10 grateful women, 1 capable man, and a renovation project that would put me at the center of their domestic universe even more than I already was. Sometimes the universe just hands you these things. Chimney cracked? Smoke channels blocked? What do we do? 10 women staring at me like I was the last lifeboat on the Titanic. Their heating system, the only thing standing between them and a northeast Chinese winter that regularly hits -40, had completely died overnight. And not a single one of them knew the first thing about fixing it. They couldn't even tell you which end of the stove the smoke comes out of. Lin, please. You're our only man. If you don't help us, we'll literally die. Now look. I'm a generous guy. I've saved multiple lives. I've fed the hungry. I've clothed the cold. But I'll be damned if I'm going to do back-breaking construction work just because 10 pretty girls batted their eyelashes at me. Sweet words don't heat my blood. Well, they do, but not in the free labor direction. Cross my arms. Sorry, ladies. Way too complicated for me. Better call the village professionals. They begged. They pleaded. They made promises they probably couldn't keep. I didn't budge. Years of internet-era experience taught me one iron rule. Never volunteer for hard work without getting paid first, especially when the currency is available. Then my queen pulled me behind the building, away from everyone. And she, this previously shy, barely willing to hold hands angel, stood on her tiptoes, kissed my cheek, and whispered something in my ear that made my eyebrows shoot into orbit. Wait, You'll really let me go through the back? Hold on. Hold on. Babe, why are you suddenly so motivated about this? If the stove's broken, just move into my cabin. Problem solved. No more sneaking home at 3 a.m. She turned red. Before she could answer, Soo-won hobbled over, still walking like yesterday's activities required a recovery period, and dropped the explanation. Oh, you don't know? While you were gone, Big Sister got democratically elected as the women's group leader. She's the boss now. That's why she cared so much about the heating. My woman wasn't just being sweet. She was being a politician. She had constituents now. 10 freezing constituents who voted her into power and expected her to fix their problems. And what does every good politician do when they can't fix something themselves? They find a man who can, and they offer him things he can't refuse. This was actually perfect. My queen running the women's cabin meant I had eyes and ears inside the operation at all times. Any new developments, any interesting situations, any opportunities to expand my social circle would flow directly to me through official channels. Fine, I'll handle it. Smacked both their backsides for good luck and marched off to see old Sun, the camp boss. On the way, I pulled 20 pounds of deer organs from my inventory. Heart, liver, intestines, stomach, the works. Leftover from my deer processing sessions. For a village chief, this was premium bribe material. Showed up at his door and laid it out straight. Boss Sun, the women's cabin is falling apart. Chimneys cracked, smoke channels are packed solid, and 10 girls nearly froze last night. Snow's coming in 10 days. If someone dies, that paperwork lands on your desk. He looked at the pile of organs. Looked at me. Did the math. Organs plus liability avoidance equals immediate cooperation. I'll send workers this afternoon, but your people feed them. 2 meals. Nobody works for free. Deal. And about those bullets, 80 rounds this time. No haggling. No guilt trips. No. What do you need so many for? The deer organs had greased the wheels of bureaucracy perfectly. Relationship maintenance. Keep giving small gifts. Keep the channel open. Keep the ammo flowing. Sun and I had a beautiful system going. Walked back feeling accomplished. Told the girls the repair crew was coming and they just needed to prepare 2 meals for the workers. Their faces fell even harder than when they heard about the broken stove. Prepare meals. With what? These girls had been rationing so aggressively for winter that their daily diet consisted of sweet potato water for breakfast and wild grass soup for dinner. Several had stopped menstruating from malnutrition. They didn't have food for themselves, let alone for a construction crew. They emptied every pocket, every drawer, every hidden stash. 10 women, pooling everything they owned. Final count, 3 yuan, 60 cents, and 2.5 pounds of grain tickets. I stared at that pathetic pile of crumpled bills and wrinkled tickets on the table and couldn't help myself. Good Lord, this is genuinely the poorest room I've ever been in. You're all collectively broker than a single broke person. They looked embarrassed. I sighed the sigh of a man whose wallet is about to get lighter. Again, put your sad little money back. I'll cover it. Went back to my cabin, pulled deer organ meat and some raw deer guts from my inventory, mixed deer blood with cheap wine in an old bottle. Instant, medicinal tonic that the workers would think was fancy liquor, and hauled everything back to the women's cabin. Dropped the supplies on the cutting board with a thud. When the workers show up, start cooking. Everything else. Follow my lead. 10 grateful faces staring at me. My queen looking proud. Soo-won looking relieved. And me, standing in the middle of a kitchen full of starving women, about to host a dinner party funded entirely by animals I'd killed and a spy I'd eliminated. The provider life chose me. I definitely didn't choose it. But here we are, 1 man, 10 women, 0 functioning heating, and a dinner to prepare before the construction crew arrives. Just another Tuesday in 1975. Barked out orders to the kitchen crew like a head chef on a cooking show. Deer liver, boil it with peppercorn water, slice thin, serve with salt. Heart and lungs, stir fry with chili. Everything else, chop it up, throw it in a pot. Make organ soup. Cold weather means extra ginger. I don't care if it looks pretty, just make sure there's enough. Old Sun showed up right on schedule with 3 weathered village grandpas carrying shovels and buckets of yellow mud. These guys had been building and fixing heated beds since before I was born in either lifetime. Professional stove surgeons. The second they spotted the deer organ feast being prepared and the bottle of deer blood wine I was waving around, Their work ethic increased by approximately 300%. This young man is class. Dear Bloodwine. For US? What kind of VIP treatment is this? Old Sun was practically glowing with pride, pointing at me like I was his star student. If all workers were like Comrade Lin Mo, hardworking, generous, rooted in rural values, we'd build socialism twice as fast. Sure thing, boss son. I'm basically a model citizen. Please ignore the multiple homicides, international espionage frame jobs, and interdimensional farming operation. The girls watched the whole exchange with new eyes. They could do math. A full set of deer organs plus deer blood wine would cost $20 at a restaurant. I'd paid for everything without taking a single cent from them. Their pathetic group savings of 3 yuan and 60 cents stayed in their pockets. I could feel the shift happening in real time. Before today, I was just the only guy left at camp. Now I was the guy with resources, connections, and a generous streak. Their gazes went from casual to calculating. Every single one of them was recalculating my value like stock traders watching a share price rocket upward. What they didn't know was that this generous display wasn't free. My queen had paid the contractor's fee in advance. In alternative currency. Specifically, she'd promised me access to a route that had previously been classified as one-way only. If you catch my meaning. While the old guys hammered away inside, I grabbed an axe and started splitting firewood in the yard. Winter eats would like I eat deer, constantly and in massive quantities. Can never have too much. Here's where the bear buff really showed off. Every swing of that axe split logs like they were made of paper. Crack, crack, crack. Perfectly even, perfectly rhythmic, hour after hour without slowing down. My muscles, 50% larger since absorbing the brown bear, glistened with sweat in the afternoon sun. Since getting Bear's Might as a permanent upgrade, my stamina recovery was basically infinite. I could chop wood from lunch to sunset and feel like I'd just warmed up. Old Sun came outside for a smoke break, saw me still going, and his jaw nearly dropped his cigarette. This kid is built like a bear. Look at those arms. Over by the kitchen, the girls had completely stopped pretending to cook. Every head was turned toward the yard, watching me split wood like it was a live performance. Faces red, eyes wide, whispers everywhere. Whoever marries Lin Mo, she's going to have a hard life, one girl giggled. Hard life? You idiot. She'd be the luckiest woman alive. Another one shot back. Women gossip about men the same way men gossip about women. They just think they're more subtle about it. They are not. Suwon caught the whole thing and immediately ran to tattle to my queen. Sister, did you see their eyes? They want to eat him alive. My queen glanced at the gaggle of swooning women and scoffed. Let them look. They're all talk. Put any of them in front of Lin Mo, and they'd turn into stuttering messes. Famous last words. Because right then, one of them actually made a move. A girl named Jean Xiaojin, Korean minority from the local border region. Personality like a firecracker, bold as brass. Walked straight up to me with a clean towel. You must be tired. Here, wipe your sweat. Big smile. Little dimples. Zero hesitation. While every other girl was hiding behind kitchen counters and peeking, this one marched right into the arena. I took the towel, wiped my face, and then, completely by accident, noticed something. Hey, this towel smells really nice. What kind of face cream do you use? Innocent question. I was genuinely thinking about buying some for my queen and Suwon. Skincare matters, people. Jean Xiaojin's confident expression shattered instantly. Her face went from bold to mortified in half a second. I don't use any cream. She snatched the towel back and sprinted away, covering her mouth. Wait, no cream? Then where's the floral scent coming from? Oh, this girl has natural body fragrance. The legendary body perfume that ancient Chinese poets wrote about. Her skin just smells good on its own. That's not skincare, that's genetics. Filed that information away for future reference. Very interesting indeed. Went back to chopping wood like nothing happened. But across the yard, my queen had witnessed the entire towel exchange. Her expression had shifted from relaxed confidence to controlled volcanic eruption. Jean Xiaojin, what are you doing wandering around? The soup is almost burned. Get back here and add water right now. My grin spread slow and wide. That tone, that urgency, that wasn't about soup. That was jealousy. Pure, undiluted, green-eyed jealousy. My queen just watched another woman approach her man and her territorial instincts kicked in like a guard dog spotting an intruder. This is what I call the catfish effect. Throw one bold fish into the tank, and suddenly every other fish starts swimming faster. Before today, my queen and Su Wan felt secure. No competition, no pressure. But Jin Xiaojin just introduced herself as a variable, and now both my existing women would be working overtime to keep my attention. Competition breeds excellence, and excellence benefits me. Right on cue, after the repair crew left and dinner was cleaned up, I walked into my cabin and found both of them already inside. Door bolted. Waiting. They hadn't even waited for an invitation. They'd followed me in and locked the door themselves. Unprecedented initiative. The catfish effect was already working. I wrapped my arms around my queen. That thing you promised me this morning. Still happening. Her face was crimson, but her jaw was set. A promise is a promise. But you have to be gentle. Gentle? Ma'am, I absorbed a 1,000-pound brown bear. Gentle left my vocabulary around the same time that bear left the food chain. But sure, I'll try. Su Wan has reached a new evolutionary stage, zero shame. While my queen still tiptoed home at 2 a.m. like a teenager sneaking past her parents, Su Wan straight up announced to the entire girls' cabin that she was moving to my side of camp. The women's cabin is too crowded. The new stove is still damp. Lin Mo's place has 2 rooms and only 1 person. I'll take the back room. He'll take the front. If a bear comes knocking, at least there's a man with a gun between me and death. The other girls giggled behind their hands. Ooh, look, the princess is running to the boys' cabin for food again. Su Wan didn't even flinch. Grabbed her pillow and walked out with her chin up. Internally, she was thinking exactly what I would have thought. Laugh all you want, idiots. I'm eating venison and sleeping on a warm bed tonight. You're sipping grass soup and sharing body heat with 9 other skeletons. Let's see who's laughing in February. Of course, separate rooms was a complete fiction. She spent the night in my bed doing what she does best, being warm, compact, and obedient. The former rich girl had fully embraced her new career as a professional bed warmer. Morning. System check. Hadn't pulled my daily intel in 3 days because of all the construction chaos and extracurricular activities. System, daily intel, 3-day accumulation. Green tier. Special grade. The intel said, for kilometers northwest, dead pine tree, 1 squirrel's entire winter food stash hidden inside the trunk. I stared at the notification for a full 5 seconds. You want me to rob a squirrel? My almighty interdimensional farming system. The same technology that helped me eliminate spies, absorb bears, and frame government officials, was now directing me to commit petty theft against a rodent. But here's the thing about Northeast squirrels. These furry little hoarders spend the entire autumn collecting nuts like they're preparing for the apocalypse. 1 squirrel can stockpile dozens of pounds of pine nuts, hazelnuts, acorns, and walnuts. That's serious inventory. Free food is free food, regardless of who gathered it. Sorry, little buddy. Your retirement fund just got seized. But first, I had a side quest. Poke the sleeping Su Wan. Wake up. Question. You said your family were traditional medicine people. Can you actually identify wild herbs? She mumbled through half-closed eyes. My grandfather taught me to recognize 100 different plants before I could read. He always said knowing herbs means you'll never starve. I rolled my eyes. Never starve? Girl, when I found you, you were so hungry your body had shut down basic biological functions. You had this knowledge the whole time and never once dragged yourself up a mountain to use it because you were too scared of bears? Instead of picking medicine on the mountain, you picked me in the bedroom. Interesting prioritization. Get dressed. Heavy clothes. We're going hiking. Hiking? In this cold? I don't want. Smack smack. 2 quick ones on the backside. The universal Su Wan motivation technique. She shut up instantly, pulled on her padded pants, and followed me out the door like a well-trained puppy. Here's my logic. My farm had just expanded to 10 acres after the bear absorption. Time speed bumped to 5x. My original 3 acres of staple crops were now producing more than enough food for winter. The 5 new acres needed something with higher value. Wild ginseng, medicinal herbs, specialty plants that would be worth serious money or serious health benefits. Problem: I can't tell the difference between $1 million ginseng root and a random weed. The most valuable plant in China could sprout between my toes and I'd step on it without blinking. Solution: I had a walking pharmacy encyclopedia sleeping in my bed. Suwon's eyes plus my muscle power equals profit. She identifies, I dig. Division of labor. Beautiful teamwork. Did she get a vote on this arrangement? No. Would she lose meal privileges if she complained? Yes. Democracy is overrated. The second we entered the forest, Suwon transformed. Her eyes went from sleepy to laser-focused, scanning every bush, every root, every leaf like a botanical terminator. That's Dangshun. Dig the root. Amazing for soups. Dragon bile grass over there. Tastes terrible but clears your liver like a power wash. And those 5-flavor berries. The Northeast variety is the best in the entire country. She also spotted wild blueberries, frost-sweetened highland berries, and cranberries that bears apparently go crazy for. Everything went into my basket. Herbs ripped out root and all, berry bushes pulled up with the soil still attached. I was transplanting an entire pharmacy into my farm dimension. Then came the main event. Found the dead pine tree from the intel. Knocked on the trunk with the back of my axe, listening for the hollow spot. Why are you hitting a dead tree? Suwon asked. Whack. The axe bit into the bark. The trunk split open, and nuts poured out like a broken gumball machine. Pine nuts, hazelnuts, acorns, walnuts, an absolute waterfall of premium forest snacks cascading out of the tree and onto the ground. Hold the bag. Now. Suwon scrambled with the burlap sack, eyes the size of dinner plates, catching the avalanche of stolen squirrel savings. Somewhere in this forest, one extremely organized rodent was about to come home to the worst day of its tiny life. Worked all autumn, sorted every nut, packed them perfectly into its tree vault. And some muscular human with an axe just emptied the whole account in 30 seconds. I am the IRS of the animal kingdom. Nobody's savings are safe. Honey, you're incredible. Suwon looked at me like I'd just turned water into wine. I grinned. This is nothing. Wait till you see what's next. Between the herbs, the berries, the transplant specimens, and a squirrel's entire life savings, today was already a massive haul. And the day was still young. Dad always said the forest provides. He just never mentioned you sometimes have to commit armed robbery against wildlife to collect. 40-something pounds of premium nuts poured out of that tree like a broken slot machine hitting jackpot. Pine nuts, hazelnuts, acorns, walnuts, a squirrel's entire 401k emptied in one axe swing. Suwon could barely lift the bag. That poor squirrel worked all autumn for this. Every single nut carefully selected, transported, and stored in its personal vault. And then some guy with bear-level muscles showed up with an axe and performed a hostile takeover of its retirement fund. To be fair, I left a few pounds of acorns behind. Those things have too much acid for human stomachs anyway. Consider it. Severance pay. Sorry, little buddy. The economy is rough for everyone. Carried the loot home, heated up the iron pan, and started dry roasting everything. The second those pine nuts and hazelnuts hit the hot metal, the oils inside started releasing, and the entire cabin filled with the most incredible roasted nut fragrance imaginable. Suwon lasted approximately 4 seconds before shoving her hand into the scorching hot pan and cramming nuts into her mouth, huffing and puffing from the heat, but absolutely refusing to stop chewing. I reached for my belt, the universal correction tool. She saw the motion, shrieked, grabbed 2 more fistfuls of nuts, stuffed them into her coat pockets, yelled something about bringing some to my queen, stuck her tongue out at me, and bolted out the door like a squirrel herself. A well-fed, healthy-looking, completely shameless squirrel. This girl went from starving skeleton begging for scraps to stealing snacks and taunting the provider in less than 2 weeks. The rehabilitation program was working too well. While she was gone, I popped into my farm dimension, planted all the herbs and berry bushes Suwon identified today, ginseng relatives, dragon bile grass, 5-flavor berries, wild blueberries, cranberries. Arranged them neatly in the new plots. But after planting everything, I'd only used about 1/3 of an acre. 4+ acres of premium magic soil sitting empty, staring at me, judging me. What I really wanted was rice. Northeast China's famous Wuchang rice is legendary in the future, the best in the country. 4 acres at 1,000 pounds per acre would be 4,000 pounds of premium white rice. Enough to feed my entire harem and the 10-woman cabin and still have leftovers. While every other camp in the region choked down corn porridge all winter, my people would be eating steaming bowls of white rice like royalty. Need to hit the supply store for rice seeds soon. Check the animal section. Those baby chicks I bought for pennies weeks ago? Fully grown. The 5x time acceleration had turned them into proper adult chickens with glossy feathers, strutting around like they owned the place. But since they were all from the same batch, the genetic situation was getting concerning. Couldn't have them inbreeding. System, slaughter all the roosters. 6 roosters vanished in the blink of an eye. Perfectly butchered, sorted, and stored. The 8 remaining hens looked around confused for about 3 seconds, then went right back to scratching for bugs. Goldfish-level memory. I need to find a strong new rooster from outside to keep the breeding program healthy. Vegetable report. 50-plus cucumbers harvested automatically. Over 20 pounds of tomatoes. Both crops crushing it. The corn and potatoes needed another week or 2 at 5x speed before the big harvest. When that hit, my food situation would go from comfortable to obscenely abundant. Then my pet deer trotted over. Now waist-high thanks to accelerated growth and magic spring water. This little guy had actually gotten smart from drinking the enchanted water. Not doing taxes, smart, but definitely understands who feeds him, smart. He nuzzled against my leg like a giant dog. Brought him out to the real world for the first time. Tied him to the door frame with a rope. He started sniffing everything in sight like a tourist on their first overseas trip. Time to cook. Pulled ingredients from my invisible pantry. Smashed cucumber salad with garlic. Sugar-dusted tomato slices. And the crown jewel. One of those freshly slaughtered young roosters stewed low and slow with dried hazel mushrooms from weeks ago. Small chicken stewed with mushrooms. The legendary Northeast Chinese dish. The one that restaurants charge premium prices for. The one that grandmothers build their entire reputations around. And I was making it on a random Tuesday with ingredients from my pocket dimension. 3 dishes on the table. Cold vegetables, fresh salad, and a steaming pot of mushroom chicken. In an era where most people were eating bark soup, I was living like a 5-star restaurant opened inside my cabin. Suwon dragged my queen home from work. They hadn't even gotten through the door before the deer scared them half to death. Where did this come from? Oh, caught it on patrol today. Thought I'd keep it as a pet. They bought it completely. My queen immediately started baby talking to the deer like it was a puppy. Suwon glanced at the animal for half a second, spotted the chicken stew on the table, and her priorities reshuffled instantly. She sat down, grabbed chopsticks, and started inhaling food before I could even say, "Dinner's ready." Former rich girl who begged for scraps. Now she doesn't even wait for permission to eat. Character development complete. Maybe too complete. Then, right in the middle of this cozy domestic scene, deer at the door, stew on the table, 2 women eating my food. A timid little voice came from outside. "Excuse me, is Comrade Lin Mo home?" All 3 of us froze mid-chew. Who the heck was visiting now? 2 shadows appeared at my door. Jean Xiaojun, the bold towel girl with a natural body perfume, and a tall drink of water named Gao Wanjun. Gao Wanjun was a local Northeast girl. Big frame, long legs, high cheekbones, large eyes. The kind of woman who, if properly fed, would be absolutely stunning. Problem was, she was currently running on fumes. Face hollow, dark circles deep enough to store coins in, hair turning gray at the roots. She was maybe 21 years old with the hair of a 60-year-old grandma. 3 years of corn porridge and wild grass soup had basically turned her into a beautiful skeleton. But that frame though, shoulders wide, waist narrow, legs that went on for days. Like a sports car with an empty gas tank. The engineering was magnificent. It just needed fuel. They looked past me and spotted the dinner table. Time stopped. Small chicken stewed with mushrooms. Sugar-dusted tomato slices. Garlic smashed cucumbers. In a workers' camp. In October 1975, Gao Wanjun stared at that chicken stew like she was witnessing a religious miracle. Her throat bobbed involuntarily. Her eyes got watery. I could practically hear her stomach screaming across the room. She hadn't eaten meat in almost a year. The last time was Chinese New Year. That was 10 months ago. 10 months of nothing but grain and weeds while doing hard labor in sub-zero temperatures. Suwon, my beautiful, devious little wing woman, noticed everything instantly. She was enjoying this. When she'd moved to my cabin, Gao Wanjun was one of the girls who'd laughed behind her hand about the princess running to the boys' cabin for food. Well, who's standing at whose door now? Drooling at whose dinner table? Come in. Eat with us. Lin and Mo just caught a wild chicken. It's delicious. No, 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 we already ate. Both girls waved their hands in that classic Chinese politeness dance where everyone knows the real answer is, I'm starving. But social protocol demands you refuse 3 times before accepting. Suwon wasn't having any of that nonsense. She physically grabbed Gao Wanjun, dragged her to the table, shoved chopsticks in her hand, and launched into a full sales presentation about my hunting abilities. He never comes home empty-handed. If you move to this side of camp, you'd eat like this every day. Then, and this is the part that blew my mind, she turned around and shot me a look. One single glance. But after weeks of cohabitation, I could read Su Wan's eyeball language like subtitles. That look said, Dear Master, I have delivered 2 fresh recruits to your doorstep. You're welcome. Now please reward me later tonight. Preferably with dessert. My former hostage was volunteering as my recruitment officer. The woman I'd blackmailed into submission with photographs was now actively helping me expand operations. She'd gone from prisoner to accomplice to enthusiastic business partner. Stockholm Syndrome doesn't even begin to cover this evolution. The girls tried maintaining composure for about 4 bites. Then the chicken stew hit their taste buds, and all self-control evaporated like morning dew. Gao Wanjun in particular went absolutely feral. This northeast Amazon inhaled 6 corn buns. 6. Then drank the entire bowl of tomato sugar juice. Then licked her lips and looked around for more. Suwon watched with her jaw on the floor. Her tiny southern stomach maxed out at 2 or 3 buns on a good day. She'd just witnessed someone eat triple her capacity without breaking a sweat. It was like watching a competitive eating champion warm up. I wasn't surprised, though. My dad explained this years ago. When your body has 0 fat reserves and you're burning thousands of calories doing farm labor, your stomach becomes a bottomless pit. Corn and grain have almost no fat or protein. You can eat 10 pounds of the stuff and still feel empty because your body is desperately searching for nutrients that aren't there. The only fix is meat. Real protein, real fat, real calories. Gao Wanjun needed about 50 pounds of beef just to fill the nutritional crater in her body. My chicken stew was a raindrop in the Sahara. Sorry, your food was just so good I couldn't stop. She put down her chopsticks, blushing but still somehow projecting that signature Northeast Chinese confidence. When my family sends me money, I'll cook you proper homemade pickled cabbage with pork belly. My mom's recipe is legendary. I looked her up and down. Pickled cabbage with pork belly? That's sweet of you. But you know what? If you really want to thank me, you've got 2 perfectly good pieces of white meat right there on your person that I'd accept as payment. Just saying. Kept that thought internal, obviously. Jean Xiaojin nudged her partner. Hey, don't forget why we actually came here. Gao Wanjun smacked her own forehead. Right. Almost forgot. I leaned back and grinned. All right, ladies, spill it. What do you actually want? Then my grin faded slightly. Please don't tell me you need me to fix something again.